you have learned basic HTML, CSS and JavaScript, and if you are looking for building different projects, then you are in the right place. In this video, within 3 hours, we will build 8 different projects. Similarly, I will provide you different timestamps with the help of which you can jump into specific projects. Without further ado, let's start. Welcome to JavaScript App Series. In this series, we're going to build web apps with the help of JavaScript. This is the first calculator app that we are building with the help of HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So, let's start. Hello everyone, this is Ditsaru with Coding Design. Welcome to our channel. If you are new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm creating 3 files: index.html file, style.css file and app.js file. And in index.html file, I'm writing exclamatory sign and hit tab button. You will get this HTML5 boilerplate. In the title, this is the JavaScript app series and this is the first app we are building. Inside the body tag, let's write main with the class name calculator, and also I'm giving heading with class name brand name. Similarly, let's write section with class name row first, and inside that I'm giving input field with class name output screen. Let's give these attributes autofocus and placeholder. For the placeholder I'm giving 0. Similarly, let's create next section with class name row second, and inside that section I'm creating multiple buttons with different value. So I'm creating 6 buttons with different value, and this process is gonna take a bit more time, so I'm speeding up the process. Okay, so let's do that. Or you can press Shift Alt down arrow if you are using VS Code. Okay, so this command will duplicate your code, so I'm speeding up the process. If you have noticed that purple color text, that's what you call HTML entity. So if you don't know what's HTML entity, let me know in the comment box, that I would make in the future like separate video for that. And this process is gonna take a bit more time, so I'm speeding up the process. Okay, so let's do that. If you are using VS Code and install the extension called live server, in the HTML file, if I right click, you will get this option, open with live server option, and if you press this option, so this option will help you to reload your browser. So when there is change in any file, it will automatically refresh your browser. In absence of CSS, our UI is looking really bad, so let's link our CSS file. So next to title tag, we're giving the style.css files link. Okay, so let's go to the style.css file. In order to prevent browser's default margin and padding, I'm giving 0. Similarly, I'm giving box sizing border box, and also let's style our body tag. For the body tag, I'm giving height. So for CSS, I'm not gonna explain more, okay, because it's gonna take lots of time. I'm giving my source code. Okay, in the description below you can see the link. From that link you can download my source code, and this process is gonna take a bit more time, so now I'm speeding up my video. Before linking our JavaScript file, I have misspelled my channel name. You can see their coding I have misspelled, so let's correct it. Now at bottom I am linking JavaScript file. So our JavaScript file name was app.js, so I am linking that file. Now let's go to the JavaScript file. Now let's get that input field with class name output screen. So in JavaScript file I am writing let output screen is equal to document.querySelector, and inside that I'm giving output screen. So with the help of query selector we are selecting this output screen. Similarly, let's select that equal to. Okay, I have gave class name equals, and let's select that. So for that I'm writing const equals is equal to document.querySelector, and I'm giving equals. Similarly, let's get our buttons. So for that I'm writing const buttons is equal to document.querySelector all. Okay, we want to select all the buttons. So in order to get that all the buttons of our HTML file, I want to select class name row. In order to select all the class name row, document.querySelector all. Inside that I'm giving class name row. I want to show you in the console. So for that I'm writing console.log row. You go to the browser, you can see in the console, okay, we are getting error. Oh, it's because that's not row, that's buttons. Now if you go back to the browser, now you can see we are getting each row. Okay, so in order to get the each button, okay, inside that row, we have to iterate it. So for that I'm writing for let button of buttons, and I want a console.log. okay, so console.log button.children. So in browser you can see we are getting each row with button. So in order to get each button, we need to again run iteration. So for that I am writing for, inside that let operator of buttons.children. So I want to show you what you will get in the operator. Okay, so console.log operator. So you can see in the browser you are getting each button. So in order to get the each button's value, for that I'm writing operators. Operator dot on click is equal to function. So I'm passing event as parameter, and I want a console.log event, that is e.target.inner text. So in the browser you can see when I click any button you are getting that button's value. I want to change inner text to inner HTML. So I want to store this value in operator value. So now let's create switch statement. So I'm writing switch and I'm passing operator value. So before going that, let's console.log operator value. So when I click any button you can get that each operators, buttons value. Now in the switch statement case we are giving cross sign, so that indicates that's multiplication. So with the help of output screen.value you can access the input fields value. So I am appending the input fields value with asterisk. Okay, so for that I'm writing output screen.value clause is equal to, and I'm passing a string asterisk. Okay, and also I'm writing break. So let me console.log output screen.value. So if you go to the browser, I'm passing 12. If I press multiplication sign, you can see in the input field 12 asterisk, and also in the console dot you can see 12 asterisk. So in this way you can give any value inside the input field. Now the process is same. So for the case of division, for the output screen dot value I'm appending slash. Now the process is same, so I'm speeding up the process. For the log, shine, cost, and okay, for that in JavaScript we have math object that has a lot of method. So you can use math.log and you can pass that output screen.value. In the same way, we are changing the for the shine, we are using math.shine. For the cost, we are using math.cost, and the process goes in the same way. Similarly, for the random button, I am giving math.random. I'm gonna generate random value from 1 to 100. So I'm writing into 100, but you can see like you can get lots of decimal digits. So I'm rounding up the value. So for that, I'm writing math.round. For the square root, you can use math.sqrt. Similarly, for the pi, we have value. We have the value of pi like 3.1415. You can give more, but I'm giving small value. So when you press del button, I want to delete the output screen's value one by one. So for that, I'm writing output screen.value is equal to output screen.value. So I want to slice that value. For the first parameter, I am giving 0, and for the second, -1. You can see if I press del button, it will delete one character at a time. So what if I change to -2? So if I change to -2, you can see it's deleting 2 characters at a time. So now let's give the case of AC. So this button will clear values of output screen. So for that, I'm writing output screen.value is equal to empty, nothing. Okay, let's copy the code, and I'm giving for the factorial exclamatory sign case. So I'm writing let factorial, I mean fact is equal to 1. I'm using for loop. So let I is equal to 1. For the condition, I'm giving I is less than or equal to output screen.value, and also I'm increasing the interval. So inside that, I'm giving fact is equal to fact into I, and I'm giving output screen that value is equal to that factorial value. Okay, so if you are getting input value, so that value is a string. Okay, that's not a number. So in order to convert it into number, I'm using %. Method. So this % will convert this input value to integer. Now for the default case, okay, before going to the default case, I want to create another function. So when you press that equal button, I want to give event. So for that, I'm writing equal dot add event listener. So I'm listening the click event, and also I'm giving arrow function as next argument. So inside that, I'm writing try and catch statement. I want to try output screen dot value is equal to eval, and inside that I'm passing output screen dot value. So this eval will calculate each and every mathematical operations that you have given in that input field. That means output screen. For the catch part, we are passing error. For now, in the catch part, we are not giving anything. When you're pressing any button, I want to show that in output screen. So for that, let's go to that operator click function. First of all, let's remove this console.log, and now I'm writing output screen.value. We're appending that operator value. If I'm pressing this button, you can see that values are displayed in the output screen. So when you are pressing equal to, okay, that is also displayed. So in order to prevent that, in the default case, I'm writing if operator value is equal to, the condition is like if that is equal to equals, then output screen dot value, we're appending the empty. So in the else part, I'm going to duplicate this code, and in the else part, I'm giving output screen dot value is equal to, I'm going to append operator's value. So let's remove that previous code. So I'm going to delete this code, and let's go back to the browser. I'm performing the subtraction, and if I'm hitting equal to, now yeah, it's working. But what if I give the invalid value? Neither it's performing any kind of operation nor it's giving me any error. So to display the error inside the catch statement, like I'm gonna give output is screen dot value is equal to error, and if I'm giving the invalid value, if I press equal to, now you can see in the output screen error message is displayed. So I want to add sound effect. So when you are pressing any button or when you are getting any error, I want to give sound. For that I'm gonna create new folder with name audio. So I have these two audio files. I'm pasting, I'm at the top, I'm again creating new variable. Let press audio is equal to new audio. So we are getting new audio object, and inside that object we are giving audio file path. Inside the audio folder we have button.mp3 file. So I want to store another audio inside error audio variable. So in the audio object I'm giving file path is same, but the file name is error.mp3. okay, when I'm clicking any button I want to play that press audio sound. So for that, inside on click function I'm writing press audio dot play. Similarly, when you are getting any error inside that catch statement, I'm giving error audio dot play method, and with the help of this method, when there is any error or invalid value, you'll get that error audio. Okay, when I'm pressing, you're getting that sound. So when there is error, you are getting that error sound. Okay, now with this sound effect, our app is looking more good. So now you can perform different operation. So I'm performing addition, division, multiplication, and so on. So you can check this out. Okay, you can play with this button. So this is it. In this video, with the help of HTML, CSS and JavaScript, we are going to create number counting animation. Not only that, we are going to add some extra features, something like when your number counting reaches to 1000 or more than 1000, will indicate with K+, and also when you reach to 1 million or more than 1 million, will indicate with M+. Without further ado, let's start. Hello and namaste everyone, this is Jitsaru with Coding Design. Welcome to our channel. If you are new here, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. As you can see, I have already created HTML and CSS file, and inside the index.html file, if I type exclamatory sign and hit that tab button, then you will get this HTML5 boilerplate. Now for the title, let's give number counting animation, and now inside the body tag, let's create div with class name container, and inside that div, I'm creating header element with class name counter heading, and inside that header, let's create h1 element, and just next to that header element, I'm creating another div with class name counters, and inside that div, I'm creating another div with class name counter wrapper. And now if I hit tab button, then you will get this code. So if you have no any idea like what's going on, so this is what you call image abbreviation. If you have no any idea about the image abbreviation, then I have created a separate video on this topic, so you can check it out. The video's link will be in the description below or in the right top corner. You can check out the iCard. For the h1 heading that is inside the header element, let's give the number counting animation. Now let's go inside the div with class name counter wrapper, and inside that I'm creating span tag with class name counter icon, and for the icon I'm not going to use like third-party libraries. I'm using emoji as icon. Okay, so in order to get that emoji in Windows, you can press window key plus full stop or dot, and also in the Mac you can press control command and spacebar. If you want to use something like unique or some beautiful icons, then you can use different third-party libraries, something like Font Awesome, Material Icon, Bootstrap Icon. There are so many third-party libraries with the help of which you can give some unique icons, but I'm not going to do that. Now next to that is span tag, let's create another div with class name counter info, and inside that div I'm creating h1 heading with class name counter, and also I'm gonna give data count attribute. For that I'm giving 100,000, and just below the h1 heading let's create paragraph tag, and inside that I'm writing monthly visitors. Now let's open this index.html file with the help of live server extension. Okay, this is what you get in the browser. Now let's select this whole div with class name counter wrapper, and let's duplicate it for more 2 times. Now let's change that emoji icons. Okay, and now instead of that monthly visitors, let's give total projects, and also I want to give something like happy clients, and also let's change that data count attribute. As you can see, I have already created the style.css file. Now just below the title tag, let's give link for our style.css file. And inside the style.css file, in order to prevent the browser's default margin and padding, for the universal selector, I'm giving margin and padding 0 for the box sizing border box. Now let's style this div with class name container. For the class container, I want to give the height of 100 vh, display flex, let's give the flex direction to column, align items to center, and also justify content to center. Now let's style this header element. For the header element with class name counter heading, I'm giving width of 80 VW. For the height, let's give 35 VH. And for the background, I want to give linear gradient color. For the angle, let's give 45 degree. For the first color, I'm giving gold color. And for the second color, let's give the orange red color. And also let's give the border radius. For the border radius, I'm giving 1 rem. Let's give text align to center. And also for the margin bottom, I'm giving 1.4 rem. Now let's style the h1 heading which is inside the header. For that, I'm giving font weight of 700. For the font size, let's give 2.8 rem, and let's give the line height of 35 vh, and for the font family, let's give sans serif. Okay, I think let's remove that line height. Instead of that, let's give the display grid for that header element, and also place items to center. As you can see, with the help of that code, we are taking that h1 heading exactly at the center of that header, and also it is responsive. Similarly, let's give the padding. For the top and bottom, I'm giving 0. For the left and right, I'm giving 0.5 rem. Now when you hover the header, let's give the transform scale to 1.05 and also cursor to pointer. So now you can see when I hover, okay, there is no any smooth transition. So for that, for the header element, let's give the transition. For the transition duration, I'm giving 0.3 second, and for the timing function, let's give is in out. So when I hover, now you can see that smooth transition. I'm adding filter saturate to 300%. Now you can see when you hover, you will get more saturated color. Similarly, I want to give the box shadow. For the X offset, I'm giving 0. For the Y offset, let's give 0.2 rem. And for the spread value, I'm giving 0.2 rem. And for the color, let's give black color with transparent value. So you can see when you hover, you are getting that box shadow. Now let's style the div with class name counters. For the class counters, let's give the width of 80 VW. And also I'm giving display flex, align items to center, and also justify content to space between. Now it's time to style the div with class name counter wrapper. For the class counter wrapper, I'm giving width of 32%. For the height, I'm giving 9 rem, and also let's give display flex, align items to center, and also justify content to space around. As you can see, there are 3 more divs with class name counter wrappers. For each class counter wrapper, I want to give different gradient color. So for that, I'm using the child pseudo class, and let's give the 1. And for the first div with class name counter wrapper, let's duplicate this code and let's take it there. Okay, so let's give this gradient color. For the first color, let's change it to pink. For the second color, let's give crimson. And let's select this code and duplicate it for more 2 times. And instead of that 1, let's change it to 2 and also 3. And for the first color, I'm giving shine. And for the second color, let's give blue. And also for the third div with class name counter wrapper, for the first color, I'm giving medium spring green. And for the second color, let's give green color. I think it's now looking really beautiful. Now let's add extra CSS code. For the class counter wrapper, I'm giving border radius of 1 rem, and also let's give the padding. For the padding top and bottom, I'm giving 1 rem. For the left and right, I'm giving 2 rem. So now when you hover the class counter wrapper, I want to give this same CSS property. So for that, with the help of comma, for the class counter wrapper, when you hover, we'll give the same CSS code. Okay, so as you can see, when you hover, you're getting the same effect, but there is no any smooth transition. So let's duplicate this transition code and let's take it to the class counter wrapper. Now let's take it to the full screen by pressing F11 key. And now when you hover, you can see this smooth transition. And I think this is looking really beautiful. Now let's style this span tag with class name counter icon. For the class counter icon, I want to give the font size of 2.5 rem. And also for the class counter info, I want to give the color of white color. And also let's give the text shadow. For the X offset, Y offset, and the spread value, I'm giving 1 pixel. And for the color, let's give the black color with some transparent value. This is what I want. And now let's style the h1 heading, which is inside the D with class name counter info. For that h1 heading, I want to give the font weight of normal. For the font size, I'm giving 2.8 rem. For the font family, let's give sans serif. Now it's time to style that paragraph element. So let's duplicate this code, and now instead of that h1 heading, let's give paragraph tag, and for the font size, let's change it to 1.1 rem. Okay, and also let's give margin top to 0.4 rem. Yeah, this is exactly what I want. Now that was all about the HTML and CSS code. Now it's time to add that number counting animation. Okay, so for that I'm going to use JavaScript code. There is very few lines of JavaScript code, so I'm using the internal JavaScript code. So just above the end of body tag, I'm creating script tag, and inside that script tag, let's create constant variable counters, and I'm assigning document.querySelector all. Okay, so we are using querySelector all. It's because, as you can see, we have multiple h1 heading with class name counter, so we want to get all those h1 heading with class name counter. So for that, let's take the help of for each method, and inside that, let's keep the counter as parameter, and we'll use the arrow function. Now let's see it in the console, what kind of value we are getting, or what kind of value we will get with the help of that counter. In the browser, if you press F12 key and let's go to the console tab, you can see we are getting each h1 heading with class name counter, and also you can see their data count attribute. Okay, now let's remove this console.log and let's create another variable initial count. For the initial count, I'm giving 0 for now, and let's create another constant variable final count, and for the final count, let's give counter.dataset.count. So with the help of this, we are getting that each h1 headings data count attribute. Okay, so if I have gave their data number, then you could write their dataset dot number, but as you can see, I have given their count, so I'm giving dot count. So now with the help of this code, we are getting that data counts attributes value. Now let's console.log this final count in the browser. Now you can see we're getting that data counts attributes value. Now with the help of this set interval method, we will add that number counter animation. As you can see, for the second parameter, it will take the interval, so it will take that interval in millisecond. So I want to give 1 millisecond as the time period. Okay, and for the first parameter, it will take the callback function. Instead of that arrow function, I want to give update counting function, but as you can see, we haven't created that function, so let's create that update counting function. Now inside the update counting function, let's increase that initial counts variables value by 1, so you can give something like plus plus, or it can be written in more long form, so it is the same thing. Okay, but as you can see, inside the h1 heading with class counter, we have given there 0. Now instead of that 0, we will change to this new value initial count. For that, I'm writing counter.innerText is equal to initial count, and in the browser now you can see that counting animation, but there is problem. So that counting animation, it's going forever. So in order to stop that animation, let's give the condition. For the condition, I'm giving if initial count, okay, this initial count, if that is greater or equal to the final count, so this variable, okay, final count, where we have stored this data counts attributes value, so which is our final count. Okay, so if initial count that is greater or equal to the final count, then let's call the method called clear interval. So we are clearing this interval. First of all, let's store this interval inside the constant counting variable, and let's copy this counting variable and let's paste it inside that clear interval. Let's go back to the browser. Now you can see when it reaches to the final count or the maximum value, then the animation it stops. Now it's time to add the extra feature. We want to add something like when the number it reaches to 1000, we want to indicate with k plus. Okay, so for that, first of all, let's give condition. For the condition, I'm giving if initial count is less than 1000, then we'll give the same animation. Okay, and now instead of that initial count plus 1 will increase the initial count by 5. Okay, so we are increasing the speed of that counting animation, as you can see. Now let's select this code and let's duplicate it. Now instead of that less than 1000, let's give greater or equal to 1000. So for that condition, we'll increase the initial count by 100, and for the inner text, we'll give initial count divided by 1000 plus. So we are concatenating the string k plus. So in the browser, now you can see when it reaches to 1000 or more than 1000, we are indicating that number with capital. Once more, let's duplicate this code, and also I want to give something like when you reach to 10,000, okay, I want to increase the initial count by 5000, and we don't need this code. Now let's duplicate this code, and instead of that 1000, now let's give 1 million, and for the initial count we'll increase it by 500,000. And okay, I have done some mistake there. When our counting reaches to the 1000 or more than 1000, I have given the initial count divided by 100. There should be 1000. I'm so sorry for that, my bad. Now let's change that initial count divided by 100 to 1 million. In the browser you can see you'll get that decimal value. So in order to get only 2-digit decimal value, let's wrap this code inside the small bracket, and I'm writing dot to fixed. I'm giving 2, and also let's add the same thing for that million as well, okay. And now instead of that k plus, let's change it to m plus. Now for the first h1 heading, let's change that data count attribute to 15 million. And for the third h1 heading, let's give 12 million. Okay, I have changed my mind. Instead of that 2-digit decimal value, let's give only 1 decimal digit value, okay. And now remember, if you want to just slow down your counting animation, you can change that set interval and also this initial counts value. So what if I change that set interval to 500, 0.5 second in the browser? You can see the speed of your animation, it's now really slow. Now for the second h1 heading, data count attribute, I'm changing it to 22,000. And in the browser you can see, okay, everything's looking really good and everything's working fine. So that's all for today. Today, with the help of pure JavaScript, we are going to build the web app. So this app will check your password strength. Let me show you the demo. I have given there 5 conditions. Whenever it meets any condition, the strength of your password will increase, and that strength of password is represented in form of progress bar, and also it is automatic. I mean, whenever you are removing any characters from the password, the strength of your password will decrease, and that is also represented in the form of progress bar. And finally, you can see there is change in the color in progress bar as well as the border around the box. Without further ado, let's start. Hello and namaste everyone, this is Jitsaru with Coding Design. Welcome to our channel. If you are new here, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. Let's create index.html file. Inside the index.html file, if I type XML design and hit that tab button, then you'll get this HTML5 boilerplate. Now let's give the title. For the title, I'm giving password strength checker. And now inside the body tag, let's create a div with class name password checker, and inside that div I'm creating h1 heading. Let's give the heading password, and also I'm giving the br tag strength checker. And also let's create the div with class name input group, and inside that div I'm creating input element with type text. For now, let's give the input type text, but later on we'll change it to password. And also for the id and placeholder, I'm giving password. Now just next to div with class name input group, let's create h5 heading, and inside that heading I'm writing password strength. Let's save the file. Now if you're using VS Code and if you have installed the extension called live server, then in the index.html file, if you right click, you'll get this option called open with live server. If you hit that option, it will open it in your default browser, and the use of this extension is that whenever there is any changes in the HTML file, it will automatically refresh your browser. Now let's create the style.css file. Just below the title tag, let's link that style.css file. In the style.css file, for the root pseudo class, I'm giving some color variables. So for the primary variable, I'm giving some kind of purple color. At the end, I'm giving 50. That means 50%, which is the alpha value that controls the transparency of that color. Similarly, let's create another variable, input vg. For that variable, I'm giving dark blue color. And also let's create another variable, text color. And for that variable, I'm giving white color. Now for the universal selector, in order to prevent the browser's default margin and padding, I'm giving margin 0 and padding 0, and also box sizing to border box. So now you can see we are removing that browser's default margin and padding. Okay. For the body tag, let's give the minimum height. I'm giving minimum height of 100 VH. And also let's give display flex. Justify content to center. So that justify content to center will bring your content horizontally center. And let's give align items to center. So that align items center will bring your content vertically center. And also let's give the font For the font weight, I'm giving 400. For the font size, I'm giving 1 rem. And for the font family, let's give sans serif. Similarly, I'm giving background image. For the URL, I'm giving background.jpg. You can see in the same folder, I do have image named background.jpg. If I save, I'm in the browser, you can see that image. And also, let's give background size to cover. Now, let's style the div with class name password checker. So for the class password checker, let's give the width of 50 VW. That means it will take the 50% of viewport's width. And I'm giving background color. For the background color, let's give that primary variable. So in the browser, you can see. Now let's give the padding. For the padding, I'm giving 2 rem. And also let's give the border radius. For the border radius, I'm giving 1 rem. In the browser now you can see rounded corner and also the space around the box. I'm giving border. For the border width, let's give 0.1 rem. For the border style, I'm giving solid. For now, for the border color, I'm giving transparent, but later on with the help of JavaScript code, we'll change that dynamically. Okay. Now let's copy that class password checker. So when you hover that password checker, let's give the transform. I'm giving scale. I'm giving scale value to 1.05. And in the browser now you can see when you hover, that box is scaling up, but there is no any smooth transition. So for the class password checker, let's give the transition. For the transition duration, I'm giving 0.4 seconds. For the timing function, let's give is in out. So now in the browser, when I hover the box, now you can see there is smooth transition. So let's give the cursor to pointer so that when you hover card, you will get that pointing hand icon. Now let's style the h1 heading. For the h1 heading, let's give the font. For the font width, I'm giving 800. For the font size, I'm giving 2 rem. For the font family, I'm giving sans serif. And also for the body tag, let's give the color. For the color, I'm giving that text color variable. And also for the h1 heading, let's give the letter spacing. For the letter spacing, I'm giving 0.1 rem. So you can see there is some space between the letters. And also I'm giving text transform to uppercase. Now for the div with class name input group, let's give the width of 100%. You can see for the class password checker, we have given the width 50 VW. So that 100% means it will occupy all viewport's width. And also I want to give some space between that heading and the input field. So for that I'm giving margin top. Let's give 2 rem. So now you can see there is some space between the heading and the input element. Now let's style the input element with ID password. So for the input element with ID password, let's give the width of 100% and also let's give padding. For the padding, I'm giving 1 rem. Let's give the background color. For the background color, I'm giving that input bg variable. Similarly, let's increase that font size. So let's give the font size of 1 rem. So when I type anything, okay, you can see that black color text. So for the color, let's give that text color variable. Now you can see that color is changing to white color. Similarly, let's remove that border. So in order to remove that border, I'm giving border none. I want to use icon inside that input field. For the icon, you could use like third-party libraries. Now in order to give that icon for the class input group, let's give the before pseudo element and let's give the position of absolute. Let's duplicate this code and let's take it to that class input group, and instead of that absolute, let's give the position of relative. And for the class input group with before pseudo element, let's give the content. For the content, if I give /1f512, so with the help of this code, you can get that icon. Actually, it's a lock emoji. Now let's give the left. For the left, I'm giving 1 rem. For the top, I'm giving 50%, but it is not exactly at the center of the input field. So I'm giving transform. For the transform, let's give the translate y minus 50%. In the browser now you can see that icon is exactly at the center of that input field. Now for the input element with ID password, for the padding we have given there 1 rem. Now let's change that padding value. For the top right and bottom I'm giving 1 rem. For the left I'm giving padding of 2.8 rem. Now you can see there is proper space between the icon and the text inside that input field. But we want to display the password strength in progress bar. So in order to do that, in the index.html file, just below the h5 heading, let's create div with class name progress, and inside that div let's create another div with class name bar. Now let's style this h5 heading and also all the other elements. Okay, so for the h5 heading, let's give the margin. For the margin, let's give for the top 3 rem. For the left and right, I'm giving 0, and for the bottom, I'm giving 1.5 rem. Now let's style the div with class name progress. For the class progress, let's give the height of 0.4 rem. For the width, let's give 100%. And for the background color, let's give light gray color. And also let's give the border radius. For the border radius, I'm giving 0.4 rem. And also let's duplicate that code and let's take it to the input element with ID password. And instead of that 0.4 rem, let's give 0.5 rem. Now you can see in the browser rounded column set on the input element as well as light gray bar. Similarly, let's style the class bar. For the class bar, let's give the height of 100%. And also let's give the width. For now, for the width, I'm giving 25%. And also let's give the background color, and I'm giving background color red color. I'm giving border radius of inherit. You can see div with class name bar is the child of div with class name progress, so it will inherit the border radius of that class progress. That means we'll get the border radius of 0.4 rem. With the help of JavaScript code, we'll change that width value dynamically. So whenever there is any changes in the width, we want to give some smooth transition. So for that, I'm giving transition duration of 0.4 second. And also for the time function, let's give is in out. Now let's change that width to 75%. And for now, let's give that class bar's width to 0%. Let's take it to the full screen by pressing F11 key. Now in order to check the password strength, we need the JavaScript code. So let's create the script.js file. And let's link our JavaScript file just above the end of body tag. Let's create the script tag with source script.js file. Now inside the script.js file, let's create the constant variable password checker. And I'm assigning document.querySelector. We're selecting this div with class name password checker. So let's copy and let's paste that class. And also let's duplicate this code. Now instead of that password checker, let's give only the password. And also let's remove this code, and instead of that dot, let's give the hash, because in the index.html file you can see for the input element we have given the ID password, so we are selecting that input element. Okay, and also let's create another constant variable progress bar, and I'm assigning document.querySelector, so we are selecting div with class name bar. So in the input element, whenever I'm typing anything, I want to run some event, so that password variable represent the input element. So I want to listen to the key of event. So I'm writing dot on key of, I'm assigning arrow function. So inside the arrow function, I want to console.log the password value. So in the browser, if I press F12 key, and if you go to the console tab, so in the console, you can see whenever I'm typing anything in the input element, all those values are displayed there. Okay. Now, whenever you're typing anything in that input field, I want to call the check password strength function. And along with that, I'm passing the password.value. But you can see we haven't created that function. So let's create that function, check password strength. So that function takes the argument. So let's take that password value as a password. And inside that function, let's create the variable strength, and for now let's give 0. Now let's console.log that strength variable. So in the browser, now whenever I'm typing anything in the input field, you can see in the console 0 and U, so it's working perfectly. These are the 5 requirements, or you can say these are the 5 conditions. With the fulfillment of requirement, we will increase that strength variable's value. So for the first condition, it's about the uppercase character. So let's give the condition. For the condition, let's give if, so that password, okay, if that password match. So we are giving the regular expression. So in order to give that regular expression, you have to give double /. I'm giving small bracket and question mark is equal to period asterisk. I'm giving square bracket, and inside that square bracket, I'm giving capital A and capital G. So with the help of that square bracket, we are giving the range of capital character. With the help of this code, we are checking if that password matches all the uppercase character. Okay. This expression can be written in different form. Instead of matching the password, you can use test. If the password matches or the condition is true, then we are increasing the strength value by 1. Okay, so I'm writing strength plus plus. So that is strength plus plus means it's the strength is equal to strength plus 1. You can see in the browser, if I type other than the uppercase character, you will get that 0. But what if I give the uppercase character? Look at that. You are getting that 1, okay? Whenever that condition is true, the strength value will be increased by 1. Let's duplicate this code, and instead of that capital A to G, let's give small a to G, okay? So whenever this condition is true, once again, we're increasing that strength value by 1. Let's copy this code and let's paste it there. Now for the numerical characters, now instead of that small a to G, let's give 0 to 9, or you could give something like /D. It means the same thing, okay? But if I give that range, it will be easier to understand, okay? So yeah, I'm giving the 0 to 9 range. Similarly, for the special characters, now instead of that 0 to 9, let's give all the special characters, something like backtick, exclamatory sign, @ hash, caret symbol. You can give all the special characters, okay? Now the next condition is that the password should be at least 9 characters. In order to check that condition, you could use something like if password.length greater or equal to 9. You could use something like this, but for all the condition, I'm using regular expression. So in order to check that at least 9 characters, now let's remove that range and also that asterisk. Instead, now let's give the curly bracket, and inside that I'm giving 9 comma. So that first value 9, that means the minimum, and if I give comma something like 20, that means that 20 is the maximum value. But for the user, I want to give the freedom that he or she could give any number of character, but minimum there should be 9 characters. So for the maximum value, I'm not giving any maximum value, and let's comment that code. Now in the browser, you can see when I type all the lowercase, uppercase, number, and also some special symbol. In the console, you can see the password is strength value. You can see at the end 5, so that 5 is the maximum strength of that password. We'll represent that strength in progress bar. So in order to do that, let's give the condition if strength is equal to 1. Then for the progress bar, let's give the CSS value. For that, I'm writing .style.css text is equal to backtick. In the keyboard, just above the tab button, you'll get this symbol. So with the help of this template literals, it is easier to work with the string and the variable. So now let's write width. But in the style.css file, you can see for the class bar, initially for the width, we are giving 0%. And now let's write $curly bracket, and inside that you could pass the variable. So I'm passing that strength variable. So for now, that strength is 1, and I'm giving /5, that is the number of conditions, okay? We have there 5 conditions, so I'm giving that 5, and let's wrap it inside the small bracket, and I'm converting this value into 100%. So I'm writing *100. So we have there strength 1 divided by 5 into 100%, that gives the 20%. Instead of this calculation, manually you could give something like 20%, but I want to make it dynamic. So for that, I'm writing this code, and at the end, let's give %. Now let's change that background red to unset. With the help of JavaScript code, we'll change that background color to red, okay? So in the browser, if I type anything, you can see in the progress bar, that red bar that is raising. I think in this case, instead of using this if statement, it is better to use switch statement. For the switch, let's pass that strength variable, and for the case 1, let's give that expression, and you need to give the break. Now let's select this code and let's duplicate it. Let's give the case 2. Now whenever the strength value is 2, in that case, we'll change that background color to orange red. Similarly, let's select this code and let's duplicate it for 3 times, and let's change that case to 3, 4, 5. Now for the case 3, let's change that background color to gold. And also for the case 4, let's give background color to deep sky blue color. And for the final case, that is 5, let's give background color to lime. And in the browser, when I'm giving uppercase, the strength value increases by 1, and I'm giving the lowercase and the numeric value. So along with that, the progress bar is increasing, and also there is change in the color. So at the 100%, you can see that lime color, that means that is the green color. And also when I'm removing that password, the password strength is decreasing. So along with that, the progress bar is decreasing, and also there is change in color. But you can see I have removed everything, but in the progress bar, you can see that red color. So in order to prevent that, you can see initially we have the strength value of 0. So we need the case for that 0. So let's select this code and let's duplicate it and let's create the case of 0. So whenever there is 0 strength, we'll change that background color to onset. Now I want to give you the challenge. So the challenge is that now I want you to change that border color around that box. So you can pause the video and you can try out, okay? I do hope you have tried that challenge. Now let's see the solution. You can see I have already selected the div with class name password checker. So for the password checker, initially for the border, we have given the border color of transparent in the case 0. So now for the password checker, let's give the CSS value. For that, I'm writing password checker dot style dot border color. Remember that C is capital letter C, okay? In the case 0, let's give border color of transparent. Let's duplicate this code and let's take it to the case 1 and let's change it to same red color. The process goes in the same way, okay? So I'm speeding up the code. Now in the browser, you can see whenever there is increase in the strength of password, progress bar and also the border color of that box is changing. But if you have noticed that for the input element, we have given their type text, but we are talking about the password. So for the input type, let's give password. So when I type anything, you can see you would feel like you are typing the password. But let me tell you, if you have your own favorite color or if you prefer the different color, now you just need to change the color variables value, okay? It's that simple. And also if you don't like that background image, you can change that. So that's all for today. In this video, with the help of vanilla JavaScript, I'll show you how to build this color palette generator. Whenever you are refreshing your browser or if you press space key or the space bar from your keyboard, you will be able to generate random color palette. Along with that linear gradient background color, I'm adding different features, something like whenever you are clicking any specific color palette, you will be able to get that color picker. So when you change any color from your color picker at real time, it will change color of your color palette. Similarly, at the same time, you will be able to change that hexadecimal color code. And also I have gave there different copy button. So whenever you are clicking any copy button, you will be able to copy specific color code. And along with that, I'm adding sound effect and also it is responsive. Without further ado, let's start. Hello and namaste everyone. This is Jitsaru with Coding Design. Welcome to our channel. If you are new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. You can see I have already created index.html file, and inside that if I type exclamation sign and hit that tab button, then you'll get this HTML5 boilerplate. Now for the title, let's give color palette generator, and within the body tag I'm creating div with class name container, and inside that div let's create header element. Next to that I'm creating main element. Now inside the header element let's create image tag. For the source I'm giving color.png, and along with that source let's give class logo. As you can see in the same folder, I do have image name color.png, so I'm giving this image as source. Similarly, next to that image tag, let's create div, and inside that I'm creating h1 heading. For the heading, I'm giving again color palette generator. Similarly, next to that heading, let's create paragraph tag, press. Let's create this kbd tag with class name space key, and within that I'm writing space key. Along with that, let's try to generate new color palette. I want to give some hints for the user, so it's just for that. Now within the main element, let's create div with class name generated colors, and within that div again let's create another div with class name generated color. Within that div I'm creating label, and for the for attribute I'm giving color1 as value, okay? Later on I'll tell you what is the use of this attribute, but for now within that label element let's create button element with class name copy, and within that I'm writing copy. And also next to that let's create paragraph element with class name generated color value. I think let's remove this generated and let's give only the color value as class name, and within that I'm giving this hexa color value. So these all codes, they are now static, but later on with the help of JavaScript code we are going to change dynamically. Now with the help of live server extension, let's open this index.html file in our default browser. As you can see, this is our result. Just below the title tag, let's give the link for our style.css file. But as you can see, we haven't created that style.css file, so now we need to create that file. I'm creating that file. Before giving any specific width and height for that image, for the universal selector, I want to give margin and padding of 0. For the box sizing, let's give border box. For the font family, I'm giving sans serif. So as you can see, for that image I have given class logo. So for the class logo, let's give width of 6 rem, and for the height I'm giving 100%. So as you can see, this is the exact size that I want. Similarly, now let's style this div with class name container. I think before that, for the body, I want to give the height of 100 VH. Similarly, let's give display grid. And also, I'm giving place items to center. Now, did you see that? All the content, they are exactly at the center of your browser. Similarly, for the background, let's keep the linear gradient color. For the direction, I'm giving to bottom left. For the first color, let's keep magenta, and for the second color, let's keep navy. Later on, we'll change this background color of body with the help of JavaScript code. For now, let's keep this static code. Now for the class container, I'm giving width of 80 VW. For the height, let's give 73 VH. Similarly, for the background color, I want to give this white color. And also I want to give padding of 2 rem. Now you can see there is proper space. In order to create that rounded corners, I'm giving border radius of 1 rem. Similarly, let's keep box shadow. For the x offset, I'm giving 0. For the y offset, 0.2 rem. For the spread value, let's give 1 rem. And for the color, I'm giving this black color with some transparent value, alpha value. Now let's bring this image and the heading within the same line. So for the header, let's give display flex. I want to bring it to the center. So for that, I'm giving align items to center. As you can see, there isn't any proper space or gap between our image and the heading. So for that, I'm giving column gap of 2 rem. Now you can see there is proper gap. Similarly, I want to give some space between our heading as well as that paragraph tag. So for the paragraph tag that is within our heading, let's give margin. For the top and bottom, I'm giving 1 rem. For the left and right, 0. Now you can see there is proper space. Let's style that KBD tag. Okay, as you can see, I have given their class space key. So for the class space key that is within our header element, let's give background color of this black color. And for the text color, let's give this white color. Similarly, I'm giving padding top and bottom to 0.5 rem. For the left and right, 1 rem. I'm giving margin top and bottom to 0, and for the left and right, 0.4 rem. And also I want to give rounded corners. So for that, I'm giving border radius of 0.6 rem. Okay, this is exactly what I want. Now let's style other elements that is within our main element. So we'll style div with class name generated colors, and also another div with class name generated color. So before styling div with class name generated colors, first of all, for the div with class name generated color, let's give height of 10 rem. Similarly, I want to give some CSS code for the label that is within our div with class name generated color. So for the label, let's give display inline block. As you know, label that is the inline element. So in order to give proper width and height, I'm giving the inline block. So for the width and height, I'm giving 100%. And once again, for the background color, for now I'm giving blue color, but later on we will change dynamically with the help of JavaScript code. Similarly, I'm giving border radius of 0.8 rem. And also for the text align, let's give right. And now you can see button element and paragraph tag, they are taken to the right side. Similarly, let's give the box shadow. For the x offset, I'm giving 0. For the y offset, 0.2 rem. For the spread value, let's give 0.3 rem. And for the color, I'm giving black color with some alpha value. Similarly, let's give cursor to pointer so that when you take your mouse near to that label element, you will get that pointy hand icon. Similarly, let's copy this whole code and paste it down there. Now when you hover label element, at that time, I want to give transform scale to 1.05. when you take your mouse, you can see there is no any smooth transition. So in order to give that smooth transition, let's give transition for that label element. For the transition duration, I'm giving 0.2 second. For the timing function, let's give is in out. So now you can see when you take your mouse near to that label element, you are getting that smooth transition. Now it's time to style this both button as well as paragraph element. So for the button element with class name copy, that is within our label element, let's give padding top and bottom 2.6 rem. For the left and right, 1.2 rem. Similarly, I want to remove that background color. So for the background color, I'm giving transparent. Similarly, let's change that border. For the border width, I am giving 0.1 rem. For the border style solid, and for the color, I want to give white color. There is some mistake. Okay, that is not border right. That must be border. Okay, I'm giving border radius of 0.4 rem. And once again, I'm giving cursor to pointer. And also let's duplicate that transition code and bring it to that button with class name copy. Once again, I'm duplicating the same code and let's take it down. So now when you hover that copy button at the time, before that, for the copy button, let's give text color of white color. So now let's duplicate this background as well as the text color and bring it down there. So now when you hover that copy button at the time, I want to change that background color to white color, and for the text color, I'm giving black color. So now you can see when you hover, you'll get that kind of effect. If you want to give different style, then that's your choice. Now for the paragraph tag with class name color value, I'm giving margin top to 4 rem. And let's bring it to the left side. So for the text align, I'm giving left. Similarly, let's change the text color. So for the color, I'm giving white color. And also I'm giving font size of 1.2 rem. And also I'm giving text shadow. For the x and y offset, I'm giving 0, and for the spread value, let's give 0.2 rem, and for the color, let's give this black color with some transparent value. And I have forgot to give some extra element. So just next to that label element, let's create input element. So I'm creating input element with type color. For the ID, okay, I have already told you that the value that we have give for the for attribute will give the same value for input element. So I'm giving the same value for our ID. So if you are new to HTML and CSS, you might ask, what the hell am I doing? So it's a kind of trick. You can see that rounded blue rectangle box, that is our label element. So now if I click that blue box, did you see that color picker pop-ups? So now you don't need to click that input element with type color in order to get that color picker. Now let's style this input with type color. So for the input element, let's give visibility to hidden. So now you can see that input element with type color, that is hidden. But I want to give some position, so I'm giving position of absolute. As you know that input element's parent element, that is the div with class name generated color. So for class generated color, I'm giving position of relative. Now I want to take that input element with type color to right side. So for the left, I'm giving 10%. Similarly, I want to take it to bottom. So I'm giving top to 91%. And once again, if you don't want to give any specific position for that color picker, then that's your choice. It's not that necessary to give any position. Now let's select this whole code and duplicate it for more 2 times. But as I have already told you that for the label and input element, you have to give there for an ID attribute. So what about the value that we are giving for the for attribute? You have to give same value for our ID attribute, and that must be unique. Okay, so let's change that color 1 to color 2. Similarly, for the third label element, again I'm changing that for an ID attributes value to color 3. Now let's take our browser to the full screen by pressing F11 key. As you can see, our design that is totally messed up. So for the div with class name generate colors, and that is within our main element. So for the div with class name generated colors, I want to give display grid, and also let's keep this grid template columns to repeat. Okay, I want to repeat to 3 and with 1 equal fractions. So in your browser, as you can see, now our generated colors, they are divided equally in 3 sections, and you can see there isn't any proper gap. So for the grid gap, I'm giving 2 rem. Similarly, let's give margin top to 2 rem. Now you can see there is proper space, proper gap between our heading as well as the different color palettes. But if you have noticed there, like our color code as well as that copy button, they are very close to the border. So for the label element, I'm giving padding of 1 rem. Now I think it's looking better. Now you can see when you click any specific color palette, you will be able to get that color picker, and that color picker, they are positioned at the bottom. But if you don't want to give any specific position, then it is not that necessary. You can remove these codes. That's your choice. But you can see all the colors, they are static colors, okay? But I want to generate random colors dynamically with the help of JavaScript code. So for that, let's create this script.js file. Now you can give link for our JavaScript file. You can give just before the end of body tag or within the head element. Just below that CSS files link, I'm giving script. Let's give this attribute default. So this is necessary, okay? And for the source, let's give that script.js file. Now within the script.js file, now we need to select all these label elements, button with class name, copy. So for that, within the script.js file, I'm creating constant variable labels, and I'm assigning document.querySelector all. So I'm using their querySelector all so that I can select all the different 3 label elements. Okay, so within that querySelector all, let's give label. Let's duplicate the same code. Now we can select all the button elements with class name copy, that is within our label element, and also let's change that variable labels to copy buttons. So as you can see, for the label, we have gave the static background color, that is blue color. So we need to change that background color dynamically, okay? So for that, let's create function name generate color, and within that function, I want to iterate all the label element. So for that, I'm using for of loop. I'm writing for const label of labels. So I'm taking that labels variable, and label represents the each label element, and I'm writing label dot style dot background color. So that must be camel case, okay? So be careful for the background color. Okay, before that, we need to generate random color, and I'm going to generate hexadecimal color. So for that, I'm creating color1 variable, and I'm assigning within single quote, let's give hash. I'm giving their hash because we're going to generate hexadecimal color, and let's concatenate with that plus, and I'm writing math.random. So now with the help of this random method, you will be able to generate random number. So you will be able to get something like 0.decimal long digit numbers. Along with that, I'm writing dot to string. I'm passing 16. So with the help of this method, I'm trying to convert decimal digit into hexadecimal digits. In order to get rid of that 0 point, you can write something like dot substr. For the first parameter, it will take starting position of string, and for the second parameter, you can give total number of string that you want to extract, okay? So with the help of this code, finally we have generated random hexadecimal color code, and we have stored within our variable color1. So you can give the same variable name for our background color, and also we need to call that generate color function. In your browser, did you see that? We are getting 3 different random colors. Each time when you refresh your browser, we are getting different random colors. But instead of pressing F5 key, I want to give some extra feature, something like when you press your space bar from your keyboard, at that time I want to generate random color. So for that, for the document, I'm giving event listener. For that, I'm writing dot add event listener. So we are listening to the key press event, and for the second parameter, let's give hero function along with that e that represents the event. Now let's give the condition. I'm writing if e.key. So if our key that you have pressed, if that key is equal to, so I'm giving there triple equal to 1 white space. That means it will detect our space bar. Then we need to generate random color. So now let's copy this generate color function and paste it there. So once again in our browser, if I press spacebar from my keyboard, did you see that I'm able to generate random colors? So now this static background color that we have gave for the label, it is not necessary. You can remove that. Similarly, I have already told you that for the body element, we'll change that background color, which was the linear gradient color, dynamically with the help of JavaScript code. Let's cut it, okay? So that later on in JavaScript code, I'll be able to use this code. Now in script.js file, let's duplicate this first color. Let's change that variable name color1 to color2, and also I want to change that starting position of the string value to 2. If you are confused like what the hell am I doing, so in order to give that linear gradient color for our body element, you need at least 2 colors. Now let's duplicate this same code, and instead of that label, you can give their document dot body. Let's remove this whole code. Just little moment ago we have got the background color code from our style.css file, so I'm pasting the same code. Now you can give something like background image is equal to, and I'm giving backtick. Let's close that backtick, and in your keyboard, just next to number 1 key or just above the tab button, you will be able to get this backtick symbol. This is what you call template literals. So with the help of this, you will be able to work with string and the variables easily, okay? So for the first color, let's wrap it within the curly bracket, and if I give color1 variable, and just before that curly bracket, you need to give the $sign. Once again, along with $sign, let's wrap it with curly bracket, and for the second color, let's give color2 variable. So we are giving linear gradient color. Once more in your browser, did you see that? Now you are able to generate random gradient color as well, okay? So if I hit spacebar, did you see that? It automatically generates random gradient color as well as the color palette. But you can see when you click in a specific color palette, now you will be able to get that color picker. But if you have noticed there, you won't be able to get that specific color that you have generated for the color palette. So that must reflect within your color picker as well. So in order to achieve that, in index.html file, as you can see, we do have label element, and label element's next sibling element, that is our input element with type color. So I'm creating constant variable color picker, and I'm assigning label dot next element sibling. Now with the help of this code, you'll be able to get the exact input with type color whenever you are clicking any specific color palette. In order to change that color picker's color value, you can write something like color picker dot value is equal to, let's give the same color1 variable that we have give for our label element as background color. So in your browser, once again, did you see that? The random color that we have generated for our color palette, that is reflected within our color picker as well. Okay, this is exactly what I want. But once again, if you have noticed there, whenever you are changing your color picker's color, that isn't changing that specific color palette's color. So whenever you are changing your color picker's color, we need to listen to specific event. So I can write something like color picker dot on input. So I'm giving input event handler for our color picker, and I'm assigning function. So within that function, or you could use their add event listener, with the help of which you could listen to the input event. It's your choice, okay? So now whenever you are changing any specific color, at that time I'm giving this dot, so that this keyword, it represents the color picker. And once again, in the index.html file, you can see input elements previous sibling element, that is our label element. You can write there something like previous element sibling dot style dot. So you can copy same this background color, okay, and paste it down there. Now instead of that color1 variable, let's assign this dot value. So now with the help of this code in your browser, if you change your color picker's value, did you see that at real time we are changing our color palette's color? So this is exactly what I want. And also I want to change that color code value, okay? So for that, let's duplicate the same code, and you can remove this style.background color. Instead, let's go to the index.html file. As you can see, within our label element, we do have paragraph tag with class name color value. So I want to change that color value, okay? So I'm writing dot query selector. So we are selecting that paragraph tag, and I want to change that color value. That means I want to change the inner text of that paragraph tag. So for that, I'm writing dot inner text is equal to this dot value. So now with the help of this code in our browser, if I change the color picker's color, did you see that we are dynamically changing hexadecimal color code at real time, okay? So now I need to add another extra functionality. As you can see, I have gave different copy button for specific specific color palette. So now whenever you are clicking that copy button, I must be able to copy that hexadecimal color code. So in order to add that functionality, as you can see, I have already selected all the button element with class name copy, and we need to iterate all the copy buttons. So once again, you can use this same for of loop. Now let's copy this code and at the bottom, let's paste it. Now you can change that labels to copy button. Okay, something like this. So you can write something like copy button dot on click, and I'm assigning arrow function. So now whenever you are clicking any specific copy button at the time, first of all, I want to change that copy text to copied. So for that, I'm writing copy button dot inner text is equal to copied. In your browser, if I hit copy button, did you see that? Now you'll be able to get that copied text, but I want to change that copied text to uppercase. So for the button with class name copy, you can give their text transform to uppercase. Now as you can see, whenever you are clicking that copy button, although it changes to copied, but after 1.5 seconds, I want to change it back to copy. So I can use set timeout function. For the timeout, I'm giving there 1500, or you can call it 1.5 second, and you can remove that curly bracket because I'm gonna just use single line of code. So within that arrow function, you can copy this whole code and paste it there. Now instead of that copied, you can give copy. Once again, in our browser, if I click that copy button, it will change to copied, and after 1.5 seconds, it will change back to copy. Did you see that? So now whenever you are clicking that copy button, you must be able to copy the hexadecimal color code that will be within our paragraph element with class name color value. So for that, I'm creating constant variable color code, and I'm assigning copy button dot next element sibling. So with the help of this code, I'm trying to get the exact paragraph tag which is next to our copy button, and I'm writing dot inner text. So I'm trying to get the text that is within our paragraph tag. So now in order to copy that hexadecimal color code to your clipboard, we do have API called navigator. So I'm writing navigator dot clipboard dot write text, and within that method, I can pass that color code variable. So now if I click that copy button and if I paste, did you see that? I was able to copy that hexadecimal color code, and if I hit that another copy button and if I paste, okay, we are getting the same hexadecimal color code. Okay, there must be some problem. Whenever I was generating random colors at the time, I have forgot to give dynamic value for our paragraph tag. So let's make it dynamic. For that, I'm writing label.querySelector. So we are selecting the paragraph element that is within our label element. And as you can see, for the paragraph, I have gave their class name color value. Instead of paragraph, you can give class color value, or you can give paragraph. It doesn't matter. And along with that, I'm writing dot inner text is equal to. So now we need to change that hexadecimal color code of that paragraph tag dynamically. So let's give the same color one variable. Let's copy and paste it there. Okay, now did you see that we are able to generate random hexadecimal color code? So once again, I want to give some extra feature. Okay, so whenever we are clicking that copy button at that time, I want to give some sound effect. Okay, so for that, as you can see in the same folder, I do have mp3 format sound. So in your script.js file at the top, let's create another constant variable copy audio, and I'm assigning new audio. So within that, you can give the source of your audio file. I'm giving copy.mp3. So now whenever you are clicking your copy button at that time, within that arrow function, you can give something like copy audio dot play. So now with the help of this code, whenever you are hitting that copy button at the time, you will be able to get that copy sound effect. Okay, although everything is looking pretty cool, but whenever you are adjusting your screen size, this is not responsive. So now we have to make it responsive. For that, you can use media query. So in your standard CSS file, I'm writing add media, and within that small bracket, I'm writing max width. For the maximum width, I'm giving 970 pixel. You can copy this whole code and paste it down there. We don't need that display grid. Now for the grid template columns, for repeat, instead of that 3, let's give 2. And once again, if you adjust your screen, did you see that whenever your screen size it reaches to 970 pixel at that time, that will be divided into 2 equal fractions. So now whenever you are taking to that small screen size and to bring it to 1 equal fraction, so let's select this whole code and duplicate it, and let's change that maximum width to 768 pixel, and also let's change that repeat 2 to 1. And once again, in your browser, if I adjust my screen, so did you see that? So in single video we are adding lots of features, so this video was a bit lengthy. So that's all for today. If you have different social media accounts and you haven't uploaded your profile picture, in that case, different social media platforms generate profile picture for their users. Today in this video, with the help of pure JavaScript, we will learn how to generate unique users profile picture. Without further ado, let's start. Hello and namaste everyone, this is Jitsaru with Coding Design. Welcome to our channel. If you are new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's create a index.html file. Inside that, if I type exclamatory sign and hit that tab button, then you will get this HTML5 boilerplate. For the title, I'm giving generate unique user profiles feature. It's in JavaScript Projects, so I'm writing JavaScript Projects. Within the body tag, let's create main element. And inside that, I'm creating div with class name profile. Within that div, I'm again creating another div with class name avatar. Let's duplicate the same div, and for the class name, let's give comment. Now within the first div with class name avatar, let's create image element for the source. As you can see in the same folder, I do have image name profile.png, so I'm giving the same image. And within the div with class name comment, let's create S3 heading, and within that heading, I'm giving user's name. And also next to that, let's create paragraph element. Let's give some dummy text. Similarly, next to that, let's create different span tag, and within that I'll be giving different emoji as icon. But if you want to use different icon, you can take the help of third-party libraries. In Windows, if you press Windows key plus full stop, then you will get this pop-up window from where you can insert your emoji. Now with the help of live server extension, let's open this index.html file in our default browser. As you can see, this is the result. Now let's create a style.css file. Just below the title tag, let's give the link for our style.css file. Within style.css file, in order to prevent browser's default margin and padding, for the universal selector, I'm giving margin and padding of 0. Similarly, let's give box size into border box. I want to change the font family, so for the font family, I'm giving sans serif. As you can see, user's profile picture that is really huge, so let's give the proper width and height for that image. As you can see, that image is within our div with class name avatar. So first of all, for the class avatar, let's give the width and height of 3 rem. In order to make circular shape, I'm giving border radius of 50%. Now let's select this code and duplicate it. For the image, I want to give the same height and width of that parent element. So for that, you can write inherit. This image will automatically inherit its parent height and width. Similarly, let's give same thing for border radius. Now in the browser, you can see this is the exact size that I want. But if you have different height and width, at that time you will get distorted image. So in order to prevent that, let's give object fit to cover. Now for the body tag, let's give the minimum height of 100 VH. And in order to bring that browser's content exactly at the center, I'm using flexbox. So let's try display flex. With the help of this justify content to center, I'll bring my content horizontally center. And with the help of align items to center, it will bring your content vertically center. So you might think like it is not horizontally center. It's because of that paragraph element that we have given within the div with class name comment. So for that, for the div with class name comment, let's give the proper height and width. For the width, I'm giving 24 rem. Similarly, for the paragraph that is within our div with class name comment, let's give the margin top and bottom to 0.5 rem. For the left and right, I'm giving 0. Now you can see there is proper space between the paragraph tags, username and icons. Now let's tell div with class name profile. For the class profile, let's give display flex. Now you can see user profile picture and details, they are in same line. As you can see, there is no proper space. For the div with class name comment, I'm giving margin left of 1 rem. Instead of giving this margin left for the div with class name profile, you could give column gap. That would be better. Now you can see there is proper gap between profile picture and user's details. Now for the div with class name profile, I want to give box shadow. For the x offset, I'm giving 0. For the y offset, let's give 0.2 rem. For the spread value, let's give 0.3 rem. For the color, let's give black color with some transparent value. Similarly, let's give some padding. For the top and bottom, I'm giving 0.4 rem. For the left and right, I'm giving 1 rem. Similarly, you can give border radius. For the border radius, I'm giving 1 rem. Now you can see proper box shadow. Now let's select this code and duplicate it. Now you can see between two boxes there isn't any gap. So for the class profile, let's give node pseudo class. And within that, let's pass the another pseudo class first of type. So I'm giving margin top of 1 rem. It means that except for the first div class name profile, I'm giving margin top of 1 rem. Now you can see there is proper space between the boxes. Now let's remove this user's profile picture. Instead of that, for the div class name avatar, let's give another class name no img. When you are giving class name no image for that div class name avatar, at the time for the class avatar, okay, before giving any style, first of all, within that div class name no image, we'll give the first letter of user's name. Right now we are giving manually, but later on with the help of JavaScript code, we'll give dynamically. So now let's give the background color to crimson. For the text color, let's give white. Similarly, let's give font size to 1.8 rem. As you can see, text is not exactly at the center. So now in order to bring that letter exactly at the center, first of all, let's give text align to center, and to bring vertically center. For that, you can give line height. And for the line height, you can give the same value that you have give for height. So in our case, that is 3 rem. Now you can see that letter is exactly at center. I just want to keep it simple. So I am commenting out these codes. Now in index.html file, you can remove this first letter of username. Now with the help of JavaScript code, we will give that first letter of username dynamically. There is very few lines of JavaScript code, so I'm using internal JavaScript. So just above the end of body tag, let's create a script tag. And within that, first of all, let's give some event listener for the window. So I am listening to the DOM content loaded. And for the second parameter, let's give arrow function. So with the help of this technique, I want to execute each and every JavaScript code as soon as both HTML and CSS codes, they are fully loaded. So now within that arrow function, let's create a constant variable without avatars. And I'm assigning document.querySelectorAll. Within that, let's select this div class name avatar along with another class name that is no image. And let's change that user's name. If I select this code and let's copy and let's paste it down, and also let's change this user's name. I think for that user's name, it's better to give first letters as capital letter. So for that, in the style.css file, for as3 heading that is within our div class name comment, let's give text transform to capitalize. So now you don't have to worry about whether that user's name they are in capital or small letter. So in our browser, you can see each and every word's letter they are starting with capital letter. So now in JavaScript code, with the help of querySelectorAll, we're selecting each and every div with class name avatar along with class name no image. Now we have to iterate all these images. So for that, I'm using for each method. So let's write without avatars dot for each. So now we are iterating each avatar that is without image, and within that arrow function, let's create constant variable name. And I'm assigning avatar dot. So what I want to do is that first of all, select each and every div with class name avatar that contains class name no image, and I want to get its parent element that is the div with class name profile, and within that profile we have as3 heading where we have given user's name. So we want to get that. In order to achieve that, you can write something like avatar dot parent element dot query selector. So we are selecting the as3 heading, and I want to get text that is within our as3 heading. For that, I'm writing dot inner text. Now let me show you in the console. So for that, I'm writing console.log name. In your console, did you see that? We are getting each and every user's name, but I want to get the first character of user's name that starts with, and I want to insert inside that div with class name avatar. For that, I'm writing avatar.innerText is equal to name dot character at, and within that, if I pass 0, with the help of this method, I'm extracting first character of user's name. Let me pause this video. There might be the case where user's name that might start with white space. So in order to prevent that, instead of this code, you can write something like name.trim. So with the help of that trim method, you'll be able to remove all white space that is in the beginning and at the end of your user's name. So now with the help of that avatar.innerText, we are inserting text inside that div with class name avatar, and we are inserting the first character or letter of our user's name, something like this, okay? But you can see the background color that you are getting, that is the same. With the help of CSS code, as you can see, I have given the background color of crimson. So now we'll give the different background color with the help of JavaScript code. First of all, I'm creating constant variable color code and I'm assigning. Okay, before that, I want to show you something in the console. In the console, if I write name.character code at and I'm passing 0, with the help of this method, I'll be able to get character code, that is the number in the console. Did you see that? So now you can copy the same code and paste it there. So for the background color, I want to give hexadecimal color. For that, you have to give hash, and along with that, you can give 6 digits. But in the console, you can see we are getting only 2-digit number. Now with the help of this math.pow, for the second parameter, I can give number of power that I want to give. I want to give 7. In the console, did you see that? We are getting huge numbers, but you can see these numbers, they are decimal numbers, but I want to get the hexadecimal number. So for that, you can write something like dot to string, and within that, if you pass 2, that means I'm converting decimal number to binary number. If I give there 8, that means I'm converting it to octal number, and if I give 16, I'm converting this decimal number to hexadecimal number. So if you have knowledge about the hexadecimal color code, at maximum digit you will get the white color, and at minimum digits you will get black color. Lower the number, you will get more dark color. So I want to give a bit dark color. I'm passing there 12. Now with the help of this, I'll be able to get numbers between decimal and hexadecimal number. So I'll be able to get numbers from 0 to alphabet B. Now in the console, did you see that? We are getting different number with alphabets. So this is exactly what we want. But you can see there are more than 6 digits. We want only the 6 digit. So for that, it's an string. So I can write dot substr. So now with the help of this method, I can extract part of a string. For the first parameter, I can pass starting position of string, and for the second parameter, you can pass the length of a string that you want to extract. So for the length, I can give there 6 because I want only the 6-digit number. So now we have created color code. Now instead of giving that background color with the help of standard CSS file, let's code this code. I'm writing avatar.style. Let's paste the code. Now for that background color, instead of that hyphen, let's give capital C, and instead of that colon, let's give equal to. For the hash, let's wrap it inside the double quote. Now instead of that 6-digit number, okay, before that, I forward to give that code for that color code variable. So let's copy and paste it there, and in the console, let me show you. Did you see that? We are getting 6-digit number. Now instead of that, we'll give color code variable. It's an string, so let's concatenate with the help of that plus, and we don't need this console.log, so let's remove this code. In the browser, you are getting a bit similar color. It's because letter R and S, they are close to each other. So let me show you what if you have same username. So for that, first of all, let's select this code and duplicate it. And in the browser, there you see that if users, they have same name, we are giving the same profile picture. So in order to make that unique profile picture, as you can see, we have used their for each method when we are iterating that avatars without any image. So at that time, along with that each avatar, you can pass second parameter index that represents the position of that each user's profile image, and that is always unique. And now you can add the same index with our character code. Now in the browser, did you see that? We are getting each unique user's profile picture. But if you want to give different color variation, you can change the starting value that we have passed within our substr method. So if I change it to 1, did you see that? Now we are getting totally different background color. So what if I change it to 2? Okay, I think this is better. So let's take it to the full screen by pressing F11 key. Now once again, what if I change user's name? In the browser, did you see that? It's completely working perfectly. So that's all for today. You have learned HTML, CSS and little bit of JavaScript, and you are preparing to build projects. This video might be the one that you are looking for. In this video, we are going to rebuild Google's landing page, and I'm trying to add all the functionalities that they do provide. Something like when you click that sign in button, it will take you to that specific page. Similarly, when you search anything, if you hit enter key or if you hit that Google search button, then you will be able to search. Similarly, when you type anything, cross icon reappears, and also when you click cross icon, it will clear all text or the character that you have entered in the search bar. And also at the bottom, you can see that footer. So we are trying to create everything from scratch. So are you excited? Without further ado, let's start. Hello and namaste everyone. This is Jitsaru with Coding Design. Welcome to our channel. If you are new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's create index.html file. Inside the index.html file, if I type exclamation sign and hit that tab button, then you will get this basic HTML code. For the title, let's give build Google Clone using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Inside the body tag, let's create div with class name container. Inside that div, I'm creating nav element. Next to that, let's create main element, and also let's create footer element. Inside that nav, let's create unordered list. And inside list element, I'm creating anchor tag with attribute target, and I'm giving underscore top. I want to create 4 list items. For that, I'm giving a strict 4. And if I hit tab button, then you'll get this code. If you have no any idea what's going on, this is what's called emmet abbreviation. So with the help of emmet, we're able to generate this code. I have already created a separate video on this topic. You can check it out. Now for the first anchor tag, let's keep a link. In order to save some time, I have already prepared some links. So let's copy and paste these links. For the first link, we'll give the Gmail link. For the second link, I'm giving link for the images. For the third link, inside that anchor tag, I'm creating image element, and for the source, I'm giving images / Google products.svg. As you can see in the same folder, I do have folder named images, and inside that folder there are different images, something like logo.gif, and also there are different svg images. For the fourth link, let's give the link for sign in. If I save the file, and with the help of live server extension, let's open this index.html file in our default browser. As you can see in the browser, you can get this result. Now inside the main element, let's create section with class name Google logo. And let's duplicate the same code. Let's change that section name to Google search. Once more, let's duplicate and let's change that class name to Google search buttons. Inside the first section, let's create image tag. For the source, I'm giving images / google.gif. And inside the second section, let's create div with class name search field. And next to that, let's create another div with class name search buttons. Inside the first div, let's create again another div with class name search field icon. And inside that, I'm creating image tag with class name icon. I want to create same 4 elements. So for that, I'm writing asterisk 4. If I hit tab button, then you'll get this code. Let's give the source of images. Okay, so I'm giving different source of images. Now for the second div, instead of that image tag, let's create input tag with type text, and also just below that, let's create a span tag with class name clear, and inside that I'm writing ampersand times semicolon. So this is HTML entity with the help of which you can get cross icon. Now inside the div with class name search buttons, let's create button. Inside that I'm writing Google search. Let's create another button, and inside that button I'm giving anchor tag, and for the URL let's give google.com/doodless, and let's write I'm feeling lucky. Okay, I think I have done some mistake there. The class name that I have given for that section, that is Google search buttons, that should be given for that div. So let's do that, and instead let's change that section's class name, something like Google homepage language, and inside that let's create div. Okay, that is my bad, that should be div, but I have given there description data tag. Okay, and I'm writing Google offer in English, and in the browser you can see we're getting different icons and different buttons, links. Now it's time to give some elements for the footer element. So inside the footer, let's create 2 divs. For the first div, I'm creating anchor tag with class name footer link, and I want to create 4 links. So for that, I'm writing asterisk 4. For the first link, let's give the link for about. For the second link, let's give the link for advertising. For the third link, let's give the link for business. For the fourth link, let's give the link for how search works. Now in the second div, let's create again 2 more anchor tag with class name footer link, and for the first link, let's give the link for privacy. For the second link, let's give the link for Google's terms. And just below that, let's create a span tag with class name footer link, and there let's give settings. So in the browser you can see these all are the HTML code that you need in this project. This code represents the navigation bar, and this code represents the Google logo section, and the other section, this section represents the search bar, and this section represents the section where Google's offer different language. Okay, and we do have final section that represents the footer of that Google's landing page. Now just below the title tag, let's keep the link for our style.css file, but we haven't created that file, so now let's create a style.css file. Inside the style.css file, inside root pseudo class, let's declare some CSS variables. So I'm declaring two variables. For the first variable, let's give the name text light, and I'm giving light gray color. And for the second variable, let's name it text dark, and I'm giving a bit darker gray color. As you can see, when you use list element, by default browser they do provide margin padding. So in order to remove that, for the universal selector, let's give the margin and padding of 0, list style to none. And also you can see if you are using button element, by default they do provide border with background color. So for that, let's give border to none. And also you can see whenever you are using anchor tag, by default you will get the blue text with underline. So to remove that underline, let's give text decoration to none. And also box size into border box. For the font size, let's give 14 pixel. For the line height, I'm giving 28 pixel. And for the font family, let's give sans serif. Okay, now you can see there is some changes. Now let's style the div with class name container. For the class container, let's give the minimum height of 100 VH, and let's give display flex direction to column, and let's give justify content to space between. With the help of that justify content to space between, we'll be able to distribute our element equally in the vertical direction, and with the help of that align items to center, we'll bring all the elements exactly at the center of our browser. Now let's style this nav element and another list element. So for the nav, let's give the width of 100%. For the height, let's give 48 pixel, and also I'm giving padding. For the padding top, I'm giving 8 pixel. For the left and right, I'm giving 18 pixel. For the bottom, let's give 0. And now let's style another list that is within the nav element. For the another list, let's give the float left. Now you can see all those elements are taken at top right corner. Okay, I think before that we have to style the parent elements. Okay, so you can style something like main element and this footer element. So for the main, let's give the height. For the height, I'm giving 80 VH, and also let's give text align to center. Now you can see within that main element, they are brought exactly at the center. Now let's style the footer element. For the footer, let's give the width of 100%. For the padding, I'm giving top and bottom to 2 pixel. For the left and right, 20 pixel. And for the background color, let's give this light gray color. And also again, let's use flex box. So I'm writing display flex, justify content to space between. Now let's style that links that is within the footer. So for the class footer link, let's give the margin top and bottom to 0, and for the left and right 8 pixel. Now for the another list that is within the nav, again let's give the display flex. I think before that, let's style all the images with class name icon. So for the class icon, let's give the width and height of 24 pixel, and also vertical align to middle. In the browser you can see all the images with class name icons. They are now smaller in size. So let's style the list items that is within the nav. For the list item, I am giving padding. For the padding top and bottom 0, for the left and right to 15 pixel. And also you can see the links that we have given for navigation bar. Because of anchor tag, you'll get that blue text. So let's change that text color. For the color, let's give CSS variable text dark. At the top you can see inside the root pseudo class, we have already declared that CSS variable. Now when you hover that anchor tag, let's give text decoration to underline. So now you can see when you hover, you will get that underlined text. Now let's style the last list item where we have given the sign in text. That should be button. Now in order to select that last list item, you can write something like li : last of type, and for that let's give the background color. For the background color, I'm giving that sky blue color, and let's give the padding. For the padding top and bottom, I'm giving 4 pixel. For the left and right, 27 pixels. And let's give the border radius of 4 pixel. And also let's change that buttons text color. So for that, let's give again color of white, and also text decoration to none. When you hover, you will get that underlined text. So in order to prevent that, we have to give their exclamation sign important. Now let's style the section with class name Google logo. So for the class Google logo, let's give the maximum height of 250 pixel. And let's select this code and duplicate it. Now for the image that is within the section with class name Google logo, for the maximum width, let's give 115 pixels. You can see logo of Google is now in perfect shape and size. Now it's time to style the section with class name Google search. For the Google search, I'm giving maximum height of 154 pixels. So you may have difficulty in understanding like what's going on. For now, let's give background color of red. And if I give padding of 20 pixels, you can see that red section represents the section with class name Google search. Now we don't need that background color, so let's remove that. For the div with class name source field, let's give maximum width of 380 pixel. For the height, I'm giving 44 pixel. And also let's give display to flex. You can see all the elements, they are in now single line. And also let's give border. For the border width, I'm giving 1.8 pixel. For the style, solid. For the color, let's give this light gray color. And also I'm giving the border radius of 24 pixels. As you can see, all the elements within that source field, they are not aligned properly. So for that, if I give text align to center, you will see all the elements, they are vertically centered. And also let's give justify content to center so that all the elements, they will be horizontally centered. And for the padding top, I am giving 10 pixel. For the right, I am giving 8 pixel. For the bottom, 10 pixel. For the left, 16 pixel. And now let's copy the same code and paste it there. Now when you hover that source field, let's give the box shadow. For the X offset, let's give 0. For the Y offset, 1 pixel. For the spread value, let's give 6 pixel. And for the color, let's give this dark gray color with some transparent value. And also let's change the border color, something like light gray color with some transparent value. So now you can see when you hover, you will get that box shadow with border. Let's style all the divs with class name source field icon. So for the class source field icon, I am giving not pseudo class, and inside that I am giving first child pseudo class. So with the help of this code, we are applying this CSS property for all the elements except the first element. In our case, our first element is that magnifier icon. Let's give the padding. Okay, so for the padding, top and bottom, I am giving 0. For the left and right, 8 pixels. So you can see there is proper gap between the icons. Now let's style that input field that is within the div with class name source field. So for that input element, let's give the width of 145 pixel. Let's give the height, I'm giving 34 pixel. And also I'm giving padding top to 0, right to 24 pixel, bottom to 0, and for the left 8 pixel. If you are new to HTML, you may not know, but all the input element by default browser, they do give background color of white color. So in order to prevent that, I'm giving background color to transparent. And also let's give the font size to 16 pixel. When you focus the input field, you will get that border. So in order to prevent that, let's give outline to none. Now you can see when you focus, you won't be able to see that border around input field. Now let's style that cross icon. Okay, so in the index.html file, you can see we have given their class of clear. So for the class clear, let's give the position of absolute. For the font size, I'm giving 2 rem. And also let's give cursor to pointer so that it represents, you can click that icon. And also let's give right to 0. Now you can see that icon is taken at the corner. So it's because you can see we haven't declared any position for its parent. I think we have to change its parents to class name. So let's change to source field input. So let's copy the same class and paste it there. Now for the parent, let's give position of relative. You can see this is exactly what I want. Now it's time to style that div with class name Google search buttons. For the class Google search buttons, let's give the padding top to 18 pixels. Now let's select this code and duplicate it. And now let's style the buttons within that div with class name Google search buttons. Let's give the left and right padding to 16 pixels. Let's remove that padding top, and also let's change that padding top and bottom value to 4 pixels. And also I want to give background color to light gray color. And for the text color, let's give that text light CSS variable. The anchor tag that is within the button element, so this anchor tag, okay. Let's change color to, I'm giving the same color, so let's duplicate the color and let's take it down. And also let's select this code and once more duplicate it. Let's take it down. Now when you hover these buttons, let's change its text color to text dark CSS variable, my bad. And also let's give the box shadow. For the x offset 0, for the y offset I'm giving 1 pixel, spread value to 1 pixel, and for the color let's give this black color with transparent value. For the border width, I'm giving 1 pixel. For the border style, solid. And for the border color, let's give this light gray color. Now you can see when you hover, you will get box shadow with border color. I have forgot to give some extra properties for the button elements. So let's give the border width to 1 pixel, border style to solid. And for the border color, I'm giving the same background color. And also let's give the margin. For the margin top and bottom, I'm giving 11 pixel. For the left and right, I'm giving 4 pixels. Similarly, let's give the border radius of 4 pixels. And also don't forget to give the cursor to pointer, user select to none. So now when you try to select these button elements, you won't be able to select, okay? Now let's take it to the full screen by pressing F11 key. Everything is looking fine. Now whenever you are typing any character or text, cross icon that should reappear, and whenever you are removing all the character or text, that cross icon should be hidden. So initially for the class clear, let's give display to none. I'm so sorry guys, like the link that I have given at the beginning, I need to add protocols. So at the beginning, for all the links, let's give https://. So let's give this https protocol for all the links, okay? And now let's check out, is it working or not, okay? If I click Gmail link, did you see that? It is taking me to the pop-up page. And what if I click on that sign in? Okay, it is taking me to that pop-up page. So I think everything is working fine. And also let's click that I'm feeling lucky button. Okay, that button is also taking to the specific page. So I think everything is working fine. And also what about the footers link? Once again, let's check out that about link. Okay, it's working, but still we're not giving the main functionality. So it's time to create JavaScript file. So I'm creating script.js file. Just above the end of body tag, let's give the link for our JavaScript file. I'm giving the source. For the source, let's give script.js file. Now we need to select that input element and also cross icon. And finally, we need to select that Google search button. Actually, what if I give ID for that button? For the ID, I'm giving search button. So now in the script.js file, let's create the constant variable search input, and I'm assigning document.querySelector. So let's copy this class name and let's select the input element. And also now let's select that span tag with class name clear, which is the cross icon. I'm using comma so that I don't have to write constant keyword multiple times. Let's create the variable clear, and I'm assigning document.querySelector. So we are selecting that span tag with class name clear. Once again, let's create another variable source button. So I'm assigning again the document.querySelector. So we are selecting that button with ID source button. So let's give their hashtag source button. Now let's give the event listener for the source input, and I'm listening to the key of event. And for the second parameter, let's give the arrow function, and I'm passing e as event. What if I write console.log e.key? And in the browser, if I press F12 key and go to the console tab, you can see whenever I am typing anything in that source bar, you will get that exact key, key value that I have entered in that source bar. What if I press enter key? Did you see that? With the help of that e.key, we are able to get the exact key that I have pressed. So let's duplicate the same code and let's comment it out. Let's console.log the value that I have entered in source bar. So if I write source input.value in the browser, whenever I am typing anything in the source bar in the console, did you see that? We'll get all the values is that I have typed it. So now let's store this source value inside the source text variable, and I haven't created that variable, so let's create that source text variable. Now whenever you are typing anything inside that source bar, at the time we are getting the value. And now let's give the condition. So for the condition, I am giving if source text dot length that is greater or equal to 1, then for that clear I can give clear.style.display is equal to block. In the style.css file, you can see initially for the class clear we have given their display to none, which represents the cross icon. So whenever you are typing at least one character, at the time only we are trying to show up that cross icon. Otherwise, let's duplicate the same code and let's take it to the else condition and let's give display to none. In the browser, you can see as soon as you type anything, you will get that cross icon. Okay, the position of cross icon that is messed up. So for the class clear, let's give top value to 0. Now once again, if I type anything, you will get that cross icon, and as soon as you remove all the text, that cross icon is hidden. So this is exactly what we want. And now whenever you are clicking that cross icon should be hidden, as well as text that we have entered that should be cleared. So in order to add that functionality, once again you can write something like clear dot, I'm giving the event handler on click. So now whenever we are clicking that cross icon at the time, once again let's duplicate the code and let's take it there. So we are giving display to none, and also you can copy that source input dot value and we can assign their empty string. So once again in the browser, if I type anything, you can see that cross icon, it reappears. What if I click that cross icon? Did you see that? Cross icon is hidden, as well as the text that you have entered. All these texts are cleared. So now you can see everything is working fine. So this is exactly what you want. Now let's add another functionality, something like when you type anything and if you hit enter key, let's add source functionality. Now in order to track that enter key, we have to give the condition. So for that I'm writing if. We can use that e.key. So in the console, I have already shown you with the help of that event.key, we'll be able to get what kind of button users are pressing. In the if condition, let's give e.key equal to, let's give the string enter. So that e should be capital, okay, otherwise it won't work. Similarly, that equal to, that should be double equal to, because that is the comparison operator, okay. So if user is typing anything in the source bar and as soon as they hit the enter key, at the time let's call this function Google search, but you can see we haven't created that Google search function. So now let's create that Google search function. Inside that function, I have to give condition. So why is that? It's because what if user, they didn't type anything and they are sourcing? That doesn't make any sense. So for that, in order to source, user has to type at least one character. So for that, I'm giving if. In the condition, let's give the same source text dot length is greater or equal to 1. Then as you can see, we have already given the same condition. So the condition is same. If that condition is true, let's create the variable URL, and I'm assigning, let's use template literals by typing backtick. In your keyboard, just above the tab button or next to that number 1 key, you'll find out this symbol. So with the help of this template literals, it is easier to manipulate text and the variable. So I'm using template literals. Inside that, let's write https://google.com/search ? Q is equal to, you can type $, curly bracket, and inside that curly bracket, now you can pass the variable source text. Now we have created that URL, but in order to execute that URL, now you have to write window.location is equal to URL. So now once again in the browser, let's search my YouTube channel, and if I hit enter key, did you see that? My YouTube videos. By the way, you can check out these videos, okay, if you are interested in. When you hit enter key, now we are able to search. But what about when you press that Google search button? So once again, what you can do is that you can copy that search button and let's keep the event listener. So we are listening to the click event. So now whenever you are clicking that Google search button at the time, once again, you can call that Google search function. So let's copy and paste it there. Once again in the browser, let's search MrBeast, and if I hit that Google search button, did you see that? Now we are able to search by hitting that Google search button. So everything's working fine, but I have noticed there's something. In the footer section, still we are getting that blue text color. So let's change that. So for the class footer link, let's give the color. For the color, let's give text light CSS variable. And also if you have noticed there, the size of cross icon is a bit smaller in size, as well as the position is not exactly at the center. So I think we have to change that. So for that, for the class clear, if you give font size to 2.5 rem, and also let's change that top value to 50%. and let's give transform translate y to -50%. With the help of this code, now you will be able to bring your cross icon exactly at the center, and also there isn't any pop-up space. So for that, for the input element, for the padding right, I'm giving 28 pixels, and for the class clear, let's give the right value to 4 pixels. Now once again in the browser, you can see there is now purple space, as well as our cross icon is exactly at the center. I think now almost everything is nearly perfect. So that's all for today. If you have visited websites such as Double School, CodePen, JS Fiddle, JS Win, and so on, you might have seen live code editor. So today in this video, we are going to build our own live code editor with the help of HTML, CSS, and vanilla JavaScript. So let's start. Hello and namaste everyone. This is Jitsaru with Coding Design. Welcome to our channel. If you are new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. In the same folder, I do have another folder named images, and inside that folder I have 3 images: css.png, html.png, and js.png. Similarly, you can see I have already created index.html file, and inside that file nothing much more is going on. Like, I do have some basic HTML code, and also I have already given the title. For the title, I have given the live code editor. Now inside the body tag, let's create the div with class name code editor, and inside that div I am creating another div with class name code, and also let's create iframe with id result. We don't need this code, so let's remove. And also inside the div with class name code, I'm creating another div with class name HTML code, and inside that div I'm creating h1 heading, and inside that I'm giving image. For the source, let's give HTML image. So I'm writing images/html.png, and also let's give the heading HTML. Next to that, let's create text area. We don't need this attribute, so let's remove. I'm duplicating this code for more 2 times. And instead of that HTML code, let's give CSS code. Let's change it to CSS. And also let's change it to JS. Let's write JS. And also in the image source, let's give CSS image. And also for the JavaScript, I'm giving js.png image. Now, if you have installed this extension called live server in VS Code, then in index.html file, if you right click, then you will get the option called open with live server. If you hit that option, it will open it in your default browser. Now let's link our CSS file. So I have already created a style.css file, you can see. So in the style.css file, I have already created the custom variables with color value. And also for the universal selector, I am giving margin and padding 0 in order to prevent the browser's default margin and padding. And also I am giving box sizing to border box. Now let's style our body tag. For the body tag, I am giving height of 100 VH. Let's give the font family. For the font family, I am giving sans serif. And also let's give some gradient color for the background. So I am writing background image, and I am giving linear gradient. For the direction, I am giving 45 degree. And for the first color, I am giving that light blue color. It's a variable, so I am wrapping inside the var. And also for the second color, I am giving that blue color. Okay, now you can see it in your browser. And also let's give display flex, justify content center, align items to center. Okay, in the browser you can see due to that high dimension of the images, we are unable to get the proper interface. But later on, when you give the proper height and width for the images, you'll be getting proper interface. Now let's style this div with class name code editor. So for the class code editor, I'm giving width of 90 VW. And for the height, I'm giving 90 VH. And also let's give display grid. And also I'm giving grid template columns. Repeat, I'm giving 2 and the 1 fraction. So you can see this div with class name code and the iframe. So these 2 elements will be divided into 2 fractions with equal height and width. Okay, so now let's style this image. For the image, I'm giving width of 1.3 rem. In the browser, now you can see. And also let's give some margin. For the margin right, I'm giving 1 rem. Okay, now you can see the proper spacing. Similarly, let's give vertical align middle. Okay, now you can see the text is position center along with that image, but due to that huge font size, you can't see much more changes. So now let's style the H1 heading. For the H1 heading, I'm giving font width of 600, font size of 1.2 rem, and for the font family, I'm giving sans serif. And also let's give some margin. For the margin top and bottom, I'm giving 1 rem, and for the left and right, I'm giving 0. Okay, in the browser now you can see there is proper spacing. Okay. And also let's give color. For the color, I'm giving white color. Okay, now for the class code editor, I'm giving background color. For the background color, I'm giving white color. Similarly, let's give some border radius. For the border radius, I'm giving 1 rem. Okay, now you can see some round corners around the box, but in the right top corner you can't see that round corner. So if I give overflow to hidden, okay, now you can see. Now let's style this David class name code. For the class code, I want to give some background color. For the background color, I want to give that dark blue color in the browser. Okay, now you can see, but there is no proper spacing. Okay, so for that I'm giving padding. For the padding, I'm giving 1 rem. Similarly, let's give some border radius. For the border radius, I'm giving top left 0. For the top right, I'm giving 1 rem. For the bottom right, I'm giving 1 rem, and for the bottom left, I'm giving 0. Okay, in the browser now you can see round corners. Similarly, let's give display grid and also grid template rows. For the grid template rows, I'm giving repeat. I'm going to repeat 3, 1 fraction. I'm giving 3 because there are 3 elements inside that David class name code. So I'm dividing it into 3 with equal fraction. And also let's give overflow Y to auto. Now let's style this text area. Now for the text area, I want to give width of 100%. Similarly, let's give the background color. For the background color, I'm giving that blue color. Similarly, let's give height. For the height, I'm giving calc, and inside that function, I'm giving 100% minus. So you can see for the H1 heading, we have given their margin top and bottom 1. So that margin top and bottom 1 makes the 2 rem. And also for the class code, we have given their padding 1 rem. That also makes 2 rem. So if we add this margin and paddings 2 rem, that makes 4 rem. Okay, now you can see in the browser it's taking shape. Similarly, let's give border to none. Okay, now you can see there is no any border. I want to give some padding. So for the padding, I'm giving 1 rem. And also let's give some font size. For the font size, I'm giving 1.1 rem. Okay, in the browser now you can see. Similarly, let's give color. For the color, I'm giving that light blue color. You can see when I resize my text area, it is resizable, like vertically as well as the horizontally. But I don't want to do that. I want to give resize for vertical only. So I'm writing resize vertical. Okay, you can see in the browser, I can't resize horizontally, but I can resize vertically. And also you can see when you add more contents, you will get that scroll bar. So I want to give the custom scroll bar. So for that, for the text area, I want to give pseudo element scroll bar. It's a newly introduced property. So old version of browsers, they may not support. So for that, I'm writing -webkit scroll bar. And for the scroll bar, I'm giving width of 0.4 rem. Okay, now you can see there is no any scroll bar. Now let's select this and duplicate this code. Let's give scroll bar thumb. Let's remove this width and let's give background color. For the background color, I'm giving that pink color. And also let's give border radius. For the border radius, I'm giving 0.4 rem. Okay, now you can see in the browser that pink scroll bar. So it's looking good. Now let's style this ID result. For the ID result, I want to give width of 100%, and also let's give height of 100%. Similarly, let's remove that border. So for that I am writing border none. Okay, in the browser you can see. Now let's create the JavaScript file. I am creating a script.js file. Let's link our JavaScript file. Thus above the end of body tag, I am giving a script tag with source script.js. Now in the JavaScript file, let's select this iframe with ID result and all these text areas. Okay. In the JavaScript file, I'm writing const html-code and I'm assigning document.querySelector. So I'm selecting the class HTML code with text area. Let's duplicate this code for more 2 times. So now instead of that HTML code, I'm giving CSS code. And also let's change it to JS code. And also once again let's duplicate this code. Now instead of that JS code, let's give the variable name result, and instead of that JS code text area, let's remove that dot because it's ID, so I'm giving hash result. So in the browser, when I type anything in the text area, that should reflect in the iframe. So for that we need to listen now event. So I'm copying that HTML code. Let's paste it. Now for the HTML code variable, I'm listening to the key of event. So I'm writing dot on key of. I'm assigning arrow function and I'm giving run function. But you can see we haven't created that run function. So now let's create run function. So I'm writing function run in the text area. So when you type anything, that run function will trigger. So when that run function triggers for that variable result, let's copy. And I'm writing result dot content document dot body dot inner HTML is equal to backtick. In your keyboard, just above the tab button, you can get this symbol. So now I'm giving style tag. So inside this style tag, I want to pass that CSS code variable. So I'm writing dollar parentheses. Inside that, I'm pasting that CSS code variable. And also let's concatenate variable HTML code. As you know, these are the text area. So in order to get the value, you can write dot value. So let's copy the same thing. Let's paste it in the HTML code variable. Okay, now we are getting the HTML code as well as the CSS code in the browser. Now you can see if I type button and I'm writing get message. Now you can see in the browser you are getting that button. But in the CSS, if I type anything, okay, for the button, if I give the padding top and bottom 1 rem and for the left and right 2 rem, it's not working. Why is that? It's because we are not listening to the any event. Okay, when you're typing anything in the CSS text area. So for the CSS code, let's give the event. So let's duplicate this code. Now instead of that HTML code, let's give CSS code. But in the browser, now you can see when you refresh your browser, you are losing all the code that you have written. But we don't want that. So for that, I'm using local storage. So I'm writing local storage dot set item. So this method will help you to set the key and value. So for the key, I'm giving HTML code, and for the value, I'm giving HTML code dot value. Okay, in the browser, if I press F12 key and let's go to the application tab, if you go to that local storage, you can see there is key as well as value. So when I type anything in that HTML code's text area, you can see all that code reflects in that key and value. Similarly, we want the same thing for the CSS as well as the JS code. So for that, let's duplicate this code, and instead of that HTML code, let's give CSS code. And also let's change that CSS code to JS code. Now instead of that CSS code dot value, now we can give local storage dot, we can give that key value. So I'm writing local storage dot CSS code. Okay, with the help of this code, we can get the CSS code that is stored in the local storage. Similarly, let's keep the same thing for the HTML code. So I'm writing local storage.html code, and also for the JavaScript codes text area we haven't given any event. So let's duplicate this code, and instead of that CSS code, let's give JS code. So when you type anything in the JavaScript codes text area, in order to execute those codes, now you need to write result.content window.eval. so inside that method I want to pass JavaScript code that is stored in the local storage. So I'm writing local storage.js code, but it's still in the browser. You can see when you refresh, you're not getting that code that is stored in the local storage. So for that, I'm writing HTML code dot value is equal to local storage.html code. Okay, so we are accessing that key. Let's duplicate it for more 2 times, and now instead of that HTML code, let's give CSS code, and also let's give JS code. With the help of this code, now you can access as well as store the code that you have written in the text area in the local storage, and when you refresh your browser, you won't lose any code. Okay, now in the browser I'm giving button tag, and inside that I'm writing get message, and in the CSS text area, okay, I'm pasting this code, and let's give background. For the background I'm giving lime. Okay, now you can see green button color. In the JavaScript text area, okay, I'm pasting this code. So I'm listening to the click event for that button. So when I click that button, I want to prompt message. So for the message, I'm writing did you love the live code editor. Now when you click that button, you can see pop-up message. And also let's paste this code. With the help of this code, now you can see that button is brought to the center. Once again, if you click the button, now you can see pop-up message, it appears. Similarly, you can see pop-up message, it appears. So once again, if you reload your page, if you press F5 key, you will lose that button, but you can see still you can get that code. So in the text area, as soon as if you type anything, it appears, okay, and everything is working. But if you want to lose those codes, the code that you have written, then you can remove these codes. This code is not that necessary. So that's all for today. In every social media, everyone's talking about how to generate images, videos using AI tool. But have you ever thought like, can you build your own AI tool? If not, let's do it together. This is the ChatGPT AI tool, where you can ask any question. And if you're not using paid version, then you will get a limited number of questions. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to build your own AI tool like ChatGPT. You can ask unlimited number of questions and you'll get the answer. How about asking question like, build 3D cube using CSS? Did you see that? After a few seconds, you'll get HTML as well as CSS code with explanation. How about asking general questions like, which is the highest mountain of the world? So now you can see we are getting that accurate answer. Similarly, I'm giving 2 modes, dark mode and light mode. You can set any mode as you prefer. Similarly, with the help of that add new chat, you can create new chat, update that chat's title, as well as you can delete a specific chat. Without further ado, let's start. Hello and namaste everyone. This is Jitsaru with Coding Design. Welcome to our channel. If you are new here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's create index.html file. Inside that, if I type exclamation sign and hit that tab button, then you will get this HTML5 boilerplate. Now let's give the title. For the title, I'm giving build ChatGPT using vanilla JavaScript, or you can call it ChatGPT Clone. With the help of live server extension, let's open this index.html file in our default browser. Now within the body tag, let's create div with class name app. Inside that, I'm creating a side element, and next to that, let's create main element. Within the aside element, I'm creating nav element. Similarly, within the main element, let's create div with class name hints and duplicate it for more 2 times. For the second div, let's give class name Q&A, and also for the third div, request. Let's create div with class name navtop, and next to that I'm creating ordered list. Within the div with class name navtop, I'm creating button with ID add chat, and within that let's give some icon. For the icon, I'm taking the help of this website called Iconify Design. So with the help of this website, you will be able to use any libraries. You can see they do provide more than 150,000 open source vector icons. Now if you click this icon sets, you can see there are different icon libraries that you can use. You can go through these different libraries of icons and you can choose any one of them, or you can choose more than two as well. For this video, I'm gonna choose this bootstrap icon. Now within the search bar, if I search plush, and if I click that plus icon at the bottom, did you see that? We'll get different information about these icons. If you want to use directly SVG code, then you will be able to get there. But I want to use HTML code. So if I click that HTML, and now you can see you will be able to use this web component. And before that, you need to give the link. So there is Iconify Designs minified version of JavaScript link. But I have noticed that this link, it doesn't work. So if I go deep down, you can see it gives more detailed information about how to use. If you scroll down, you can see there are two links. That first link, it doesn't work. So if you copy that second link, similarly, if you are using React, then you can copy this code. And also there are different options, so you can go through this documentation. I'm copying this second link. I want to paste that link. So within that button, I can copy this web component and paste it there. Now with the help of this web component, you'll be able to get that plus icon, and with the help of this link, it will automatically generate SVG icons. So in your browser, did you see that? We're getting that plus icon. Similarly, next to that, I'm writing new chat. Now let's create another list with class name chats. Within that, let's create list items. And inside that list item, I'm creating two divs. For the first div, again, I want to give different icon. So once again, in our source bar, if I type chat, I want to take this icon. And now you can copy that web component and paste it there. Next to that, I'm creating a span with class name chat title. Again, I'm giving new chat. Now within the second div, once again, let's give two different icons. And in our source bar, if I try trash, okay, I want to take this icon. Okay, now you can copy that web component and paste it there. So for each icons, I want to give the same class name, that is icon. And also I'm sourcing another icon pane, so I want to take this icon. So once again, let's copy that web component and paste it there. Similarly, let's give class name icon. So now you can see we are getting that trash and pane icon. Now let's go inside that ordered list and let's create a list items. Within that list item, once again, you can copy this icon and paste it there. Along with that, I'm writing clear conversation. So I'm taking this same trash icon, and next to that, let's create another list items. And once again, let's give icon name gear. So I want to take this icon. Once again, you can copy this web component and paste it there. And don't forget to give their class name icon for that web component, okay? And next to that, I'm writing settings. Once again, you can select this code and duplicate it for 2 times. And also let's change that name as well, okay? I'm giving light mode and English. So now if you have noticed there, we can just change that icon attributes value in order to change any specific icon. So if I search bright, so you can give that icon name brightness high. And also for the fourth icon, I want to give globe. So I want to give this globe Americans, okay? Now in your browser, did you see that? Now we are giving different icons. It's time to style this side navigation bar. For that, let's give the link for our styler CSS file. So as you can see in the same folder, I have already created styler CSS file, and within that, I have already written few lines of CSS code. So you can see in order to prevent browser's default margin and padding, for the universal selector, I'm giving margin and padding to 0. For the box sizing, I'm giving their inherit. But for the HTML tag, I have given their box sizing to border box, and for the font size of 62.5%. And also for the body, I have given there some specific font size of 1.5 rem, and I'm giving font family to Poppins. I want to create different color variables. Within the root pseudo class, I'm giving primary variable where I'm storing linear gradient color. For the direction, I'm giving 45 degree. For the first color, let's give this dark blue color. For the second color, I'm giving light version of same blue color. Let's duplicate this code and let's change that variable name to dark mode. Now once again, for the first color, I want to give another dark version of blue color, and for the second color, let's give a bit lighter version of that same dark blue color. And within the variable text color and scroll bar, I'm storing white color. when you are giving class light at that time, we will change that dark mode variables value to ls blue, text color to this black color, and scroll bar to that dark blue color. So if you give class light for the div with class name app, you will be able to change all the different colors. In order to remove that bullet points for the unordered list, let's give list style to none. And for the list items that is within our unordered list, let's give padding top and bottom to 1.2 rem. For the left and right, 1 rem. Similarly for the font size, let's give 1.4 rem. And also I want to give some rounded corners. For that, I'm giving border radius of 0.6 rem. Similarly, now when you hover any list items at that time, I want to give background color to this white color with some transparent value. And for the cursor, let's give pointer. When you take your mouse near to that list items, you will get that pointing hand icon. But now you can see you won't be able to see that white color background. As you can see, our whole page background color that is white. So for the side, what if I give background color to this primary variable? So the variable where we have stored this linear background color, that was the linear gradient color. So I need to remove that color. So now in your browser, did you see that when you hover, you'll be able to get that white transparent background color with rounded corners. Similarly, I want to change all the text color value into white color. Now you're able to change that icons as well as text color. Similarly, for all the button elements, you'll get that default styles. So I want to change that background color to transparent, and also I want to remove that border, so I'm giving border to none. For that pointing hand icon, let's give cursor to pointer. Similarly, I want to give border radius of 0.6 rem so that I would be able to get rounded corners. Now you can install this div with class name app. So for the class app, I'm giving height of 100 viewports height. For the background, let's give that variable name dark mode. As you can see, we have given another gradient color, and for the text color, I'm giving same CSS text color variable. And also let's give display to flex, and for all the text that is within our side navigation bar, I want to give text transform to capitalize so that all the starting letters that will begin with the capital letter. And let's give width. For the width, I'm giving 20%, and also I'm giving padding of 1 rem. And also now you can style that main element. For the main element, I'm giving width of 75%. Now let's adjust these screens, and it's time to style that nav element and also div with class name nav top. So for the nav, let's give display to flex, and let's change that flex direction to column. For the justify content, I'm giving space between. Okay, you won't be able to see any changes. So if I give height of 100%, now you can see these two elements, they are splitted. So when you hover, you'll be able to get that white transparent background color, but there isn't any kind of transition. So for the list items, let's give transition. I'm giving duration of 0.2 second. For the timing function, let's give is and out. So now you can see you'll be able to get that smooth transition. Now it's time to install that button element. Okay, so for the button element that is within our nav, I want to give border. For the width, let's give 0.1 rem. For the style, let's give solid, and for the border color, let's give this white color. Similarly, for the width, let's give 100%. For the padding and margin bottom, I'm giving 1 rem. Now let's change that text color. For the color, let's give this white color. And also let's take that text to left side. For that, I'm giving text align to left. Now you can duplicate the same code and bring it down there. When you hover that button element, I want to give some transition for that button element. So for the transition duration, I'm giving 0.2 second. For the timing function, I'm giving is and out. So now when you hover at the time, I want to give background color to white color, and for the text color, let's change it to black color. So now you can see when you hover, you'll be able to get that white background colored button. Now let's style this div with class name nav top. Within that, you can see there is unordered list. So now we need to style these elements. So for the unordered list that is within our div with class name nav top, let's give maximum height of 35 rem. For the overflow Y, I'm giving auto. Okay, instead of that auto, I want to give overlay so that scroll bar's width will be included within our under list elements width. So now if I create more list items, so I'm duplicating. Okay, now in your browser you can see you'll be able to get different list items, but you can see we are not able to scroll. Okay, it's because that's not the minimum height, that must be maximum height, so that is my bad. Now you can see you are able to get that vertical scroll bar. And for all the scroll bars, I want to give our custom scroll bar. So for that, let's give the pseudo element scroll bar along with that WebKit prefix, and I'm giving width of 0.5 rem. Similarly, you can select hold this code and duplicate it. And for the scroll bar thumb, let's give this background color. I'm giving this CSS variable scroll bar. As you can see, within our scroll bar, we have stored there dark blue color. And also I want to give border radius of 0.5 rem. So now if I give class light along with that div with class name app, you can see in your browser you'll be able to get that light mode. So as you can see, when you are taking to the light mode, you will be able to get that dark blue scroll bar within our side navigation. So I had to change it to white. For that, let's duplicate this code and bring it down there. We don't need this code, you can remove that. We just need that background color. So for the background color, let's give white color. But we need to target to a specific element. So for that, I'm giving a side where we have their nav element. Within that, we do have div with class name nav top and this vertical scroll bar. This is the part of our unordered list. So let's give their UL. You'll be able to get that vertical white scroll bar. Now you can remove that class light from our div with class name app, and now you can see whether it is dark mode or light mode, you will be able to get that white color vertical scroll bar. I think now we can remove these elements. Okay, let's duplicate this code and bring it down there. Now let's style list items. For the background color, I want to give white color with some transparent value. Similarly, I'm giving padding of 1 rem. For the display, let's give flex. And also justify content to space between. Align items to center. Now you can see they are now in proper position. I want to give some box shadow. For that, for the x offset, let's give 0. For the y offset, I'm giving 0.3 rem. For the spread value, let's give 0.7 rem. And also I need to give the color. For that, I'm giving this black color with some transparent value. I think I need to create one more list item. So did you see that there isn't any gap between the list items? For that, let's duplicate the same code and bring it down there. And I'm giving margin bottom to 1 rem. Now you can see you'll be able to get that space, but I don't want to give that margin bottom for our last child. So for that, I'm giving not pseudo class, and within that you can pass last child pseudo class. Now with the help of this code, you'll be able to prevent margin bottom for our last list element. Now it's time to give some extra elements that is within our main element. So within the div with class name hints, I'm giving image with class name logo. And for the source, let's give, as you can see in our same folder, we do have folder name images, and within that there are two images, logo.png and loading.gif. So for the source, let's give images/logo.png. In your browser you can see that huge logo. So now we need to give proper height and width. For the class logo that is within our main element, let's give width and height of 4 rem. And also I want to give filter, let's give brightness to 120% so that we'll get a bit brighter version of that logo. Now you can see. Next to that, let's create paragraph element, and I'm giving some hints for our user. Now within the div with class name Q&A, let's create another div with class name result. So within that div, I'm creating another div with class name question, and let's duplicate it. For the second div, let's give class name answer. Now within the first div with class name question, let's give some icon. So for that, if I search portion, okay, let's take this icon. Now you can copy that web component and paste it there. So for each icon, as you know, I'm giving class name icon, but I want to give different color for this icon. For that, let's give their extra class name, that is blue. Next to that, let's create S3 heading, and you can give there your question. Now within your div with class name answer, you can duplicate the same icon and bring it down there. Now you can just change that icon's name. So let's go and search robo. Let's take this robot icon. So you can just copy that robot and paste it there. Now instead of that blue class, let's keep there green, and next to that let's create paragraph tag. So this is what you get in your browser. Now within the div with class name request, let's create another div with class name input group. You can duplicate the same icon and bring it down there. Now we don't need that class name green, and we can change that robot icon to person fill gear. And next to that, I'm creating input element with type text. And for the placeholder, let's give provider prompt, and also I'm giving autofocus so that when you visit this page, it will automatically focus here. And next to that, let's create button element with ID send, and within that again I'm writing send. Now for the div with class name hints, I want to give the same common CSS property that we have given for our side element. So with the help of that comma, I'm sharing the same CSS property, but I don't want to give that width and padding. So for the aside, let's give that separate width and padding. And also we can give separate CSS property for our div with class name hints that is within our main element. Let's give separate padding of 2 rem. Similarly, let's give border radius of 1 rem. Now for the main element, you can give height of 100%. And also let's give padding of 2 rem. Now you can see there is some gap. Similarly, let's take it to center. For that I'm giving margin top and bottom to 0, and for the left and right auto. Let's give display to flex. Let's change that flex direction to column. And justify content to center. And also let's give some gap. For that I'm giving gap of 2 rem. Now when you hover any divs that is within our main element, at that time let's give transform scale to 0.998. And in order to give some transition, let's give transition name to transform. For the duration 0.2 second, and for the timing function let's give ease in out. I think that transition should be within the div that is within our main element. So let's bring it down there. Now you can see when you take your mouse, you'll be able to get that kind of zoom out effect. Now let's give some different style for our icons. So for the class name icon that is within our main element, let's give font size of 3 rem. Now you can see a bit bigger version of icons. Now for the class hints and for the div with class name results divs, let's give display to flex, align items to center, and column gaps to 1.5 rem. Now you can install this div with class name Q&A, which is within our main element. For that class Q&A, let's give overflow wide to auto. Now if you select all this code and duplicate it, now you can see when you create multiple elements, you will be able to scroll. As you can see, we have already given separate code for our vertical scroll bar. Now you can remove these elements. Now for the div with class name result that is within our div with class name Q&A, let's give width of 100%. For the padding I'm giving 1.4 rem. Similarly, you can copy this same code and paste it down there. For all the divs that is within our div with class name Q&A, that is within our div with class name result, let's give padding of 1.5 rem. You can select all this code and duplicate it. Now you can target a specific class name question. So for the div with class name question, let's give background. I'm giving this dark mode CSS variable. And talking about border radius, for top left and right, I'm giving 1 rem. For bottom left and right, 0. Now you can see at top left and right corner, you will be able to get that rounded corners. Similarly, you can select this code and duplicate it. Now let's give for the div with class name answer. Now let's change that background color. Let's change it to white color with some transparent value, and also instead of top left and right corners. So now for the answer, I want to give it to bottom left and right. So you can reverse that step. Now you can see, I think it's looking much more better. As you can see, for these two icons, I have gave separate class blue and green. So now let's style these icons. So for the icon class blue and green, let's give padding of 0.6 rem. And for the border radius, I'm giving 50% so that I could make circular shape. Now you can duplicate the same code and bring it down there. For the class green, let's give this background color. I want to give this spring green color. There isn't any changes. Okay, I have done there some mistake. That is not hyphen, that must be full stop or period. Okay, because that is our class, so that is my bad. Now you can duplicate the same class blue and bring it down there. We can give separate background color. I will give this same blue color, so let's copy and paste it there. Now you can see you will be able to get that different background color with different icons for a specific question and answer. So now let's style this div with class name request and also input element. So for the div with class name request, let's give display to flex, and also I'm giving gap of 1 rem and align items to center. Okay, there isn't any changes. So why is that? Oh, because I have give their div with class name input group within our div with class name request. So I think we don't need that separate div. Okay, so you can remove that div with class name input group. You can see there is some changes. Now you can install that input element that is within our div with class name request. So for the input element, let's give width of 50 rem. For the padding, let's give 2 rem. And also I want to remove that border. For that I'm giving border to none. And let's give outline. For the width I'm giving 0.1 rem. For the style solid, and for the color let's give this same spring green color. And also I want to give some rounded corners. For that let's give border radius of 0.6 rem. When you type anything within that input element, I want to change that font size. Okay, for that let's give font size of 1.6 rem. So now you can see when you type, you'll be able to get that bigger version of text. Now let's style that button element that is within our div with class name request. So for the button, I want to give padding top and bottom to 1 rem. For the left and right, 2 rem. And also let's give background color. Let's give this same spring green color. And also let's change that text color. I'm giving white color. So now let's take these elements exactly at the center. So for that, for the main, you can give their align items to center. So in your browser you can see everything is brought to the center, but now you can see our question as well as the answer on their width that is totally messed up. So you can give their specific width for our div with class name hints and div with class name Q&A. Let's give width of 100%. Now in your browser you can see this is exactly what I want. Now you can take it to the full screen by pressing F11 key. And now for the div with class name app, if I give class light, okay, at that time you can see our questions and answers icon that will change into black color, but I want to change it to white. I want to give some background color for our questions as well as for our answer. For that, whenever you are giving class light for our div with class name app, so there won't be any space. Okay, be careful at that time. For our div with class name question, so that is within our div with class name result, Q&A and main element, let's give background color. I'm giving this light blue color. In your browser, did you see that? Now you will be able to get that different background color in your light mode. Similarly, now you can select this code and duplicate it. Now for our class name answer, you can set that background color to white color, and also you can give that same box shadow. I think now it's better to create a separate variable for our box shadow. So let's copy this code, and I'm giving their variable box shadow. So let's create that variable box shadow. For the box shadow, let's paste the same code that we have copied, and now you can give same CSS variable box shadow for our class name answer. Now in your browser, you can see you'll be able to get that white background color with some box shadow. And also if you have noticed there, for our question and answer, icons change into black color. So I want to give the same white color for the icon that is within our day with class name Q&A. Let's give text color to white color. Now you can see you will be able to get that white color icons. And also I have noticed there in your site navigation there isn't any proper space between our icon and text. So for that, let's duplicate the same code and bring it down there. Now for the class icons that is within our side element, you can give margin right of 0.6 rem. Now you will be able to see their proper space. Now when you click that specific new tab's title, I want it to be editable. So for that, for the span with class name chat title, you can give their extra attribute called content editable. So now with the help of this attribute, you will be able to edit that new chat's title. But you can see you will get that default outline. So we need to give our custom CSS property. For that, you can select any attribute within that square bracket. I'm giving their content editable. So when you focus at that time, let's give outline to none. And instead of that outline, I want to give border bottom. I want to give width of 0.1 rem. For the style, let's give solid. And for the color, white. Okay, now you can see that it's really huge border. Okay, that is not 1 rem, that must be 0.1 rem. Now you will be able to update these chat titles. So this is exactly what I want. Now you can remove that class light from our div with class name app. We need to add dynamically this class with the help of JavaScript code. So whenever you are clicking any specific buttons, when you are typing any specific text within our input field, so all these interactions will be done with the help of JavaScript code. So within the same folder, let's create a script.js file. Just below the link that we have given for our style.css file, let's give link for our JavaScript file. So for this script, I'm giving source. Let's give script.js file, and also along with that, you need to write their default. So this default attribute, this is really necessary because we are giving link for our JavaScript file within our head element. Let's give some space. Okay. Now in our script.js file, we need to select these different classes and ID. So in script.js file, I'm creating constant variable app, and I'm assigning document.querySelector. So let's select that div with class name app, and along with that, let's give their comma. I'm giving their comma. The reason is that I don't want to give constant keyword multiple times. So now you can duplicate the same code. Let's change that variable name app to mode. So now we are selecting list element with ID mode. As you know, this video is a bit lengthy, so in order to save some time, with the help of same technique, I'm selecting different classes as well as ID, and I'm storing in different variables. And also let's keep some comments. Okay, now we need to toggle light mode and dark mode whenever you are clicking that specific option called light mode. So for that, as you can see, I have already selected list item with ID mode, but I have noticed there I did forget to give ID for our specific list items. So for that, let's give ID mode, and also okay, that ID should be within our list item. So let's give that ID delete. So now whenever you are clicking that specific list item, we need to toggle that light mode and dark mode. For that, I'm writing mode.add event listener. So we are listening to the click event. For the second parameter, you can give the callback. So I'm giving function toggle mode. I think we need to take it up. So now let's create that function toggle mode. And within that, let's create constant variable light mode, and I'm assigning app.classlist.contents. And within that, I'm giving light. So with the help of this code, I'm checking whether app does it contain class name light or not. Okay, so if it contains, it will return true, otherwise false. So that boolean value we are storing within our light mode variable. Now next to that, you can write something like app.classlist.toggle. So we are toggling the class name light, and for the second parameter, you can give their boolean value. So based on that variable, we'll be able to add and remove that class light from our div with class name app. But you can see if it's our light mode, then we need to remove that light mode. Okay, so for that, I'm giving their exclamatory sign so that I can convert that true boolean value to false. So when we are in light mode, we'll remove that class light, and when we are in dark mode, we will add that class light along with that div with class name app. So in your browser, if I click that light mode option. Did you see that? Now you'll be able to add and remove that light mode and dark mode. Similarly, when you are clicking that light mode option, I want to change that icons as well as that text into dark mode. So for that, just next to that code, I can write something like more.inner.html is equal to. So now you can copy this whole icon as well as that text and paste it there. I'm wrapping within the backtick. In your keyboard, just above the tab button or next to number 1 key, you will be able to get this symbol. So with the help of this template literal, you will be able to manipulate your string as well as JavaScript variable in much more simpler way. Let's make our text as well as icon dynamic. So for that, I will take the help of ternary operator. So now you can cut that icon name, and within that I'm writing dollar curly bracket. So now you can take the help of that variable light mode. So you can give their question mark, and if we are in light mode at that time, we'll give our icon name brightness high. But if we are in dark mode at that time, let's give our icon name to moon. Similarly, now you can do the same thing for our text as well. If we are in light mode at that time, we'll give our text to light mode, and if we are in dark mode, we'll change our text to dark mode. So once again, in our browser, when you click that dark mode option, you'll be able to change into light mode, and along with that, we are changing our icon. Now when you hit that clear conversation button, you need to delete all the new chats options. So in order to do that, as you can see, there is list with id delete, and I have stored that list within the variable clear. So now you can duplicate this same code, and instead of that mode, you can write there clear. So now when you hit that delete conversation button at that time, let's call the function. Instead of giving any specific function, I'm using the arrow function, and there is just one line of code, so I don't need to use any curly bracket. You can use that variable name charts. As you can see, I have already created ordered list with class name charts. So I can write something like charts.inner.html is equal to, if I give empty string, and once again, if I hit that button called clear conversation, did you see that? Now you will be able to clear every new chats option. So now when you click this new chat button, you need to add new chat options. Okay, so for that, as you can see, I have already created a button with id add chat. So now you can duplicate the same code, and instead of that mode, let's write add chat. So now when you click add chat button at that time, let's call the function name add new chat. But as you can see, I haven't created any function name add new chat. So let's create that function. And you can write something like chats.inner.html plus equal to. So be careful, I'm giving the plus equal to. So with the help of this code, you will be able to append specific elements whenever you are clicking that add new chat button. So again, I'm using their backtick, and within that, I think before that, I need to add two more features. That is, when you click that pen icon, you need to be able to edit that title of chat, or when you press any trash icon, delete that specific chat. For the icon trash, within that same HTML component, let's give click event. So I'm writing on click is equal to, within double quotes, I'm giving update chat title function, and within the second icon, which is the pen icon, let's give the same on click event, and I'm assigning remove chat function. And within these two functions, you can pass there this keyword that represents web component, or in our case, you can call it icon. So I have done some mistake. Instead of using remove chat function for that pen icon, I need to give their update chat title function. So just reverse the position. That's my bad. But you can see we haven't created that two functions. So in our script.js file, let's create that two functions. So I'm creating constant variable update chat title, and I'm assigning arrow function along with that argument el, that represents that specific element that we have clicked. So you can duplicate the same code, and instead of that update chat title, you can give remove chat. So now when you click that pen icon at the time, you can write something like l.parent element. So as you can see, when you call that remove chat function, that specific web component's parent element, that is the div, and if we talk about that div's parent element, that is our whole chat. So I can write again something like dot parent element dot remove. So with the help of this remove method, now you'll be able to remove that specific list element. I think I have done some mistake. When we were clicking that trash icon at the time, I have used their remove chat function. So instead of that update chat title, you need to give their remove chat function. Okay, now once again in our browser, did you see that when I click that trash icon, you will be able to delete that specific new chat option. Now before giving that update feature, you can copy this whole list element and you can paste it within that backtick where I have given their chat.inner.html. So let's uncomment that code. Whenever you are clicking that pen icon, at the time we have called their function name update chat title along with that this keyword. So now we need to get its parent element and previous sibling element, and within that, as you can see, we do have span with class name chat title, which is the last child. So you can write something like l dot parent element dot previous element sibling. And if I give again dot last element child dot focus. Now with the help of this method, you will be able to focus that specific chat's title in our browser. When I click that specific chat's pen icon, did you see that? Now you will be able to update that chat's title, something like this. Okay, I think I have misspelled there, so let's do some correction. Now you can see when you click that new chat button, you will be able to create new chat options. Now it's time to give the real feature. So now whenever you are giving any specific question with the help of that input field, first of all, I want to display that questions within these two headings. Okay, and after that, I need to give back the answer. So as you can see, there is input element within the div with class name request, and I have already selected that input element. Okay, I think I have done there some mistake. Instead of that class input group, I have to give their class request. And also you can see I have already selected button with ID send. So now with the help of these two elements, I'll be able to ask any specific question. So now you can duplicate the same code, and instead of that add chat, you can give the send. And now whenever you are clicking that send button, let's give the function name get answer. And once again, let's duplicate the same code. Instead of that send, now you can give that variable name input, but this time before directly calling that get answers function, I want to give arrow function along with that e argument that represents event, and I want to give condition if e dot key. Before that, I need to change that click event. So this time let's give key of event, and within that if condition you can write something like e dot key triple equal to, so that is the comparison operator. If that key is equal to enter, then within that input field, as soon as you hit the enter key, you'll be able to get your answer. So you can call function name get answer, but as you can see, I haven't created that function name get answer. So just down below, let's create that function name, but this time I'm creating a asynchronous function. So the reason behind creating this asynchronous function is that within this function later on I'll be using fetch API, so it might take a bit longer time to get the response. You can use their async keyword, and within that I'm taking the help of try and catch statement. So within the catch you can give the error, and you can give there something like console.error. Let's pass that argument. So now whenever there is any kind of error, you'll be looking at your console. Now within the try statement, I can write something like app.querySelector. Now I can select the div with class name hints, and within that you can see we do have paragraph element. So I need to select that specific paragraph element. And if I write .inner.html is equal to input.value, then now you can see in our input field, if I give any specific question and if I hit send button, did you see that it will automatically change that text of our hints? I think instead of that input.value, let's create constant variable question, and I'm assigning input.value. So now instead of that input.value, you can replace with this variable question. Whenever you are giving any kind of specific question, at that time you need to be able to create separate element for our question as well as answer. So for that, as you can see, within div with class name Q&A, we do have their separate element for our questions and answer. So you can copy these two elements. Within the result variable, I have stored that Q&A. I think instead of that result, let's change that variable name to Q&A. So just down there you can write something like Q&A.innerHTML. Again, I'm using their plus equal to. Let's give their create chat function, and let's pass the argument question. As you can see, I haven't created that function name create chat, so let's create that function. and let's take that argument as question, or you can give any different name. Okay, it doesn't matter. And within that function, let's return. So now within this small bracket, I'm giving their backtick, and inside that backtick you can paste this whole code. Now we can make that questions dynamic that we have provided within our S3 heading. I can write something like dollar curly bracket question, and also for our answer, instead of that dummy text, you can give image element. And for the source, I'm giving images slash loading.gif, and along with that, let's give the class name loading. Now in our style.css file, let's style that class name loading. I'm giving height of 3.2 rem, and for the width, let's give auto. So let me show you what's really going on. Whenever you are giving any specific question, did you see that? You'll be able to create a separate element for our question as well as answer. But in our answer section, you'll be able to get kind of, something is going on there. I mean, like our bot is processing the answer. Instead of this image, you can use their separate icons, like spinner icons. So you can do something like, instead of that image, you can copy this separate web component code for this spinner. That's your choice. And also along with that, create chat function. Let's give another argument id, but as you know, I haven't created that id, so let's create that. Const id is equal to, again I'm giving the generate id function, but we haven't created that function, so let's create that generate id function. Within that, I'm writing return math.random, and if I write to a string and I'm passing there 16, so with the help of this method, I'll be able to convert our random numbers into hexadecimal number. And in order to make it more unique, I'm adding with date.now, which will give you current time in milliseconds. I think it's better to store whole this code within our variable. Let's give the variable name id. So now you can return that id. As you know, I'm generating the random number, so for that I'm writing the id.substr. So within that method, for the first parameter, you can pass the starting position, so I'm giving there 2, and for the second parameter, you can give the total number of a string that you want to extract. So I'm writing there id.length -2. So you might be thinking, what's really going on? So now with the help of that math.random method, you will be able to generate random numbers, but you will get something like 0. long decimal digits, something like this. And I want to extract all the digits except that decimal point and the number behind it. So for that, I'm giving there id.length -2, and we are returning that id and storing within our constant variable id. And same id we are passing within our function name create chat. So for the paragraph, now you can give the id attribute within double quote. I'm writing dollar curly bracket id. Okay, I haven't passed that second argument, so you can give their id. As soon as you create that new chat, let's select that specific paragraph tag with unique id. So I'm writing const p is equal to document.getElement by id. So you can pass that same id variable within that. So this code is just for demo purpose. Later on, we'll remove this set timeout function. So with the help of this, I'm trying to do something like, when you are giving any specific question, after 2 seconds, I want to give the answer. So for that, for the second parameter, you can give the timeout. For that, I'm giving 2000, that represents 2 seconds. And within that callback, you can write something like p.HTML is equal to. For now, I'm giving just dummy text. So in our browser, if I give any specific question and if I hit the enter, did you see that after 2 seconds you will get that answer? But when you are getting any specific answers, I want to give some kind of typewriter effect. I think instead of that dummy string, let's give empty string, so that we'll be able to remove that loading animation. Let's create separate variable message. Within that, we'll be storing our answer. Now, in order to give that typewriter effect, let's create the function name typewriter, and within that, I'm passing 2 parameters. For the first parameter, let's give the paragraph element, and for the second parameter, let's give our answer, that is message variable. Now let's create that function typewriter, and within that, let's take that argument as p and message. And within that function, I'm creating I variable and I'm assigning 0. And also let's create another variable interval, and I'm assigning their set interval function. And for the second parameter, let's give timeout. I'm giving 15 milliseconds. And also within that callback, let's give the condition. I'm giving if message.length, if our message length greater than I, then we'll clear our interval. So within that clear function, you can pass that interval variable. Else, let's increase our I variable's value by 1. And you can write something like p.innerHTML plus equal to message.char@. So within that method, you can pass the same I variable. I think let's change the condition. Instead of this condition, let's give another condition. For the condition, let's give if I is less than the length of our message, then we'll increase our I value and we'll insert the each character within our paragraph element after each 15 milliseconds. Otherwise, we'll clear our interval. So with the help of this code, you'll be able to get a kind of typewriter effect. So let's check out if I give any random questions. Did you see that after 2 seconds, you'll get a kind of typewriter effect? So now what if I give another new question? So at the time I want to take it to that new question. I want to scroll to that new question. For that, just above that condition, you can write something like Q&A dot scroll top, and I'm assigning Q&A dot scroll height. So now with the help of this code, you'll be able to scroll to the bottom. Now let's duplicate the same text. Now you will be able to see proper typewriter effect. But I have noticed there is something problem with our CSS. I want to keep that our bots icon just at the top instead of center. As you can see, I have given there align items to center. So because of that, we are vertically centering our element. In order to prevent that, for the div with class name answer, you can give align items to flex start. So now you can see this is the exact position that I want. But as soon as you get the answer, I want to remove that question from our input field. So for that, you can write something like input dot value is equal to empty string. So now let's give the question. Did you see that? As soon as you get the answer, you will be able to remove that question from our input field. Now you can remove that dummy answer. Now we need to get the actual answer. For that, you can take the help of this website called platform.openapi.com. If you want to go more details, you can go through this documentation and you can see if you are using Python, you can install this package, as well as if you are using Node.js, you can use it separately. But in order to use this API, you need the API key. If I click this link, okay, now you have to create a separate account for that. You can give your Gmail account or Microsoft account. So I have already created a separate account. As soon as you create your account, you will be redirected to this page. You can see with the help of this button, you will be able to generate your API key. So if I hit that button, and now you can copy your API key. So I have copied mine, and in our script.js file, let's create a separate variable for our API key. I'm creating constant variable OpenAI API key, and now let's paste the same API key that we have copied. And if you go through API reference, you can see if you are using Python, you can copy this code. If you are using Node.js, you can use this code. Okay, but as you know, I'm using vanilla JavaScript. So first of all, we need this URL. So let's copy this URL, and again, I'm creating separate variable for our URL. Let's paste the URL. And just bottom there, you can see we need to pass different options, or something like for our headers, we need to pass data type along with our API key. So just down below there, let's create constant variable response is equal to, let's take the help of fetch API. So I'm writing fetch, and within that, let's pass URL as first parameter, and for the second parameter, let's give options variable. As you can see, we have used their asynchronous function. So now you can use their await keyword, but as you can see, we haven't created that options. So now let's create that option variable. Within that options, I'm assigning object. For the first key, let's give method. I'm giving post. And so let's keep the headers. Now you can copy this code and paste it there. So now let's separate this key and value pairs. Okay, now for the authentication, let's give our OpenAI API key. So you can write there backtick $, wrap it within our curly bracket. Now for the body, Again, you can copy this whole code and paste it there. Once again, we are separating each key and value pairs. Now for the content, instead of that dummy text, you can give our question, that is input.value. Now with the help of this temperature, you can give accuracy of your answer. So I'm giving there 0 so that we will be able to get more accurate answer. Now you can remove that set timeout function. Instead of that, we'll give condition. I'm giving if response.ok. So now if we get the proper response from our endpoint, then okay, let's remove that code and we'll take hold this code within that if condition. And within that, let's create another constant variable data, and I'm assigning response.json. Okay, that function, it is also the asynchronous function, so I need to give there await keyword. Now we can take that data variable, and within that message variable we can store our actual answer. Before that, let me show you in the console what we are really storing within our data variable. If I ask a random question, okay, we are getting some error. As you can see, within the body we have gave their object. Now we need to convert it into a string. So now you can wrap all this code within the small bracket and you can write something like json.stringify. So once more, let's give the random question. Did you see that? We are getting the response, and we'll get the object. Within that, we do have key choices, and that's the array. And within the first index, there is message. Again, that message, that is the object. And within that object, that content key, that is the exactly what we want. So you can write something like data.choices, and I'm accessing that first element. If I write .message.content, then now you'll be able to access that key content. So now with the help of this code, you'll be able to get our actual answer. So once more, if I ask question like JavaScript loop with if statement, and if I hit enter, did you see that? After a few seconds, you'll be able to get that answer. And if you have noticed there, everything they are placed within the single line. So it is really difficult to read. As you know, these answers, they are stored within our paragraph element, which is within the div with class name answer. So in our standard CSS file, you can duplicate the same code and bring it down there. So for our paragraph tag, we can give there white space. For white space, I'm giving there break spaces. So once more, if I ask the same question, but this time, did you see that? You will get that answer in more readable format. So this is exactly what I want. And also, as soon as you ask any specific new questions, I want to scroll down to the bottom. So for that, you can take the same code, and as soon as you append new questions and answer, you can give that code. Similarly, we didn't give any kind of validations for our input field, so let's give two validations. That is, if user is not giving any kind of character, then they won't be able to ask any questions. Similarly, for the next condition, as you know, we are not getting the answer immediately. It takes few seconds. So during that time, you won't be able to ask any questions. Like you won't be able to hit the enter key as well as hit that send button. So in order to prevent that, let's go back to our code editor. Okay, I have noticed there, like in our index.html file, I have told you like to create our div with class name app within our body element, but I think I have created that element just outside of that body element. So now you can see when you are clicking that send button, and as soon as you hit enter key within our input field, immediately we are calling to our function get answer. So within that try statement, you can give the condition. For the condition, I am giving there if input.value.length, if that length is greater than 3, user should give 3 characters in order to ask any question. So now let's bring this code within that if condition. Similarly, as soon as you ask the question, let's give something like input.setAttribute. So we are setting the read-only attribute. For the second parameter, we can give true. You have to give that. And let's duplicate the same code. Instead of that input, you can change it to send, and let's change read-only attributes to disabled. So when you get the answer at the time, we need to remove that attribute. So for that, let's duplicate the same code and bring it down there within our if condition. Now, instead of setting attribute, let's remove that attribute, and also we don't need that second parameter. You can remove that. Once again in our browser, let's ask the question, build 3D cube using CSS. And after a few seconds, did you see that? We are getting separate HTML code as well as CSS code. Now let's ask the general question, which is the highest mountain of the world. Okay, now did you see that? We are getting the exact answer along with that height as well, And also for the last time, let's ask another question. Let's give Java while loop with if statement. Did you see that? We are getting that Java code along with that explanation. So isn't this amazing? Now you can see you will be able to switch from dark mode to light mode and vice versa. Similarly, you will be able to clear old chat. You will be able to add new chat, update chat. Similarly, you will be able to delete a specific new chat. So I'm giving lots of functionalities for our app that I could, and that's it. I do hope this was really helpful. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did learn something, smash that like button. If you have any kind of queries, let me know in the comment box. Share this video if you think someone needs it. And also, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell icon. Remember, there is always more to learn, so keep learning.